clock right again? Oh, clock looks mostly right, yeah.
Yeah.
No Pat.
Well, I think you might be on the wrong one.
Mine said, I think April 4th on mine, originally when I clicked it.
That was just me screwing up the date, thinking it should have been the 4th instead of the 6th.
It's all good.
So, she just updated.
Oh crap, I didn't get the years. Oh, Austin. You sure?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
sorry.
all right, that's fine. I didn't have anything long to say anyways. But live stream's on?
Yeah, live stream's on.
I got 1 minute yet.
Pat will be locking in any minute.
Did he come through yet?
I don't know. And I actually didn't even update the slideshow to reflect the.
All right, I have 6 PM, everybody, but for anybody watching at home, I apologize. We're gonna just give a few minutes for our attorney to show up here, and then we'll get started. I worry that one of these days he'd be rushing and then
Yeah.
getting a fender bender on the way here or something.
Yeah.
Hopefully he knows a good,
What's that?
hopefully in that case he would have a good attorney.
Mm. Is that him?
Perhaps.
I didn't hear it screeching on like 2 tires coming down the corner or something.
I think that's him, because he has a hybrid, and I just heard hybrid, so.
You can hear the difference between a hybrid and a...
Yeah, the hybrids make noises. Yeah, it is.
It's high pitched.
Because they're silent, so you have to, they put a sound on them, so you hear them, so.
So it's like muffled in?
Him and mine both make a sound, yeah. No, it's like an alien spaceship sound, actually. We're both hybrid men. Saving the planet one day at a time.
Dude, everybody in Austin, Texas, all the Ubers use Teslas.
Do they?
It's crazy. I don't like how there's not a door handle for them.
I knew I heard the hybrid.
That's all right. Take your time. Let me know when you're ready. Are you sure? Yeah. I'll wait for that. All right. That's all right. I'd like to call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Baldrige. Cullinan.
Here?
McDermott.
Here.
Moyle. Here. Curran.
Here. Number 3, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
1 minute. We need to table the cancel final comment again.
You want to table number 15?
Yeah, I think we need to.
We need to.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
Well,
Should put it indefinitely.
I don't think we can do that. I think we,
Actually, we can. and
Okay.
he even looked it
Well, I
up.
love how being surprised by things at council meetings
I
never.
don't think it's a surprise at all.
Okay. Pat, I think we talked about this. I think we said that I think they can table something, but they can't stop it from going on the agenda, correct, right?
Well, Pat, I'm sure you're aware of,
Well,
our
that's-
ordinance
I didn't know.
2.03.120.
I can't say I recall it off the top of my
Well,
head.
That's a good answer, actually.
Through ordinance,
I remember we changed it a few years ago and said that the mayor or any commissioner can put something on the agenda.
I agree. Well, I have here a list of what is on the agenda. What I believe he's placing on there is a structural change, which he's not allowed to do without a council approval and an ordinance change. So therefore,
Why do you
unless it's,
consider it a structural?
unless it's new
change?
business or old business, I consider it a structural change. It's on after, other than being in that spot, it really wouldn't be efficient on the agenda. If that was on number 9, number 10, number 11, number 6, it wouldn't be effective, right?
I don't know what 9, 6, 10, or
So
11 is,
it's
Rich, honestly,
Well, I'm just
but,
saying, outside of it being in that exact position, it's structural. It can't go to any other.
I don't see any difference between structural or regular ones, Rich, but honestly, it's not something I've ever investigated. I would suggest you take up the motion that's on the table, to table it for tonight, and we can do some more research on this issue.
Let's
All the
get-
money for nothing.
Okay, well, I agree, because it's been on there the last
You're
couple.
trying to avoid what it was. You're making something up by yourself, and you don't have that authority.
I,
The council voted you down
He
twice.
has authority to place things
I have
on
the
the
authority to-
agenda.
Down twice.
No, I have the
You're
authority to put anything on the agenda, and I think there's a reason.
I have here the agendas that you were told no by the council. We didn't agree with it. I have your comments as well.
Mhm.
I believe I have a video of the last meeting where you said that you were just gonna do it anyway. You were
Mhm.
refusing to obey, adhere to anything that the council has voted on and agreed to. And you've said it publicly numerous times that you're just gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, but the council can't override a state statute or ordinance. You can change the ordinance.
Go, tell me what your state statute is.
I said state statute or
Okay.
ordinance, and your ordinance is that any council member can put something on the
I
agenda.
agree, I agree.
Okay,
You
good.
can.
I'm glad.
I'm not arguing that you have to put it on here, but you
Okay.
cannot make a structural change. You're making
I-
a structural change.
Again,
Then move it to old business or new business. That's what we can put on.
again,
the
being
agenda.
surprised, but I would,
You're not surprised.
well, I don't know what you're talking about with structural change. My recommendation would be to send it to the attorney to review it, if that's what you need to do, because I don't think there's a problem with it.
Commissioner Moyle, and I credit her for what she's done before here, it has kept these meetings very calm and productive, in my opinion, since she's changed that over there and voted on it and the council agreed to it. This here seems to be something that the council didn't agree on 2 times when one of them was almost voted on, and one of them was an actual vote, with the majority voting against it. And I don't see how you could still say, I'm gonna put it on there anyway.
Right.
Like I said, you do have the authority to put it on
Yeah.
there, every one of us do, but it's under old business or new business.
I don't believe it. That's not how I read that ordinance.
If you need an attorney.
So, I mean, you have the right to table what's wrong?
I was just making sure I started the live stream, but I didn't.
Okay.
I remember now.
I mean, you obviously have the authority to table something. Why you would want to table something that tries to improve
Well,
transparency,
that's your
I have
recommendation.
no
You've
idea.
already given us your speeches, we've heard them,
Okay.
the public's heard your speeches. It's a waste of our time, it's a waste of everyone's time.
You're actually taking more time doing this than we've
Exactly, so
ever
quit
taken on
putting
it.
Yeah.
It's going on there to the rest of my time
Okay,
here.
And I'm gonna do the same thing as well.
Okay, so you're gonna take the action to waste the time, because
Yeah.
I think the last 2 times we had
I
it,
have, I mean, I don't know what else to do here, I mean, you're violating.
you don't know what else to do?
You're-
There
you're-
was a motion and a second. and
Yeah,
argument.
let's
Well, we'll go around. Anybody wanna make a
table
comment?
that.
No, we're not going around, there was
Yeah,
no room
yeah,
for one.
yeah, you do get an
Stop debating
opportunity.
the topic.
It's all right.
He tabled it.
Uh,
Why were you just avoiding rules?
well,
That's not how that works.
I do think, I mean, I've sifted through not even probably a small fraction of the municipal code, it's so large, but I have sifted through like the first chapter, or the first few chapters, just skim them, and I do know, I do believe that there are some things in the municipal code that state that these items should be put on the agenda each meeting, something, 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 but I don't think it is, I don't think it's exclusively, or it only allows for exclusively those items. I'm sure you could add other things on there.
I would agree with that.
But I mean, I do agree with the sentiment, though. I guess I do kind of see this as a structural change to the agenda as opposed to a discussion item. I know Jason had previously put a discussion item to discuss council final comments or whatever on it, and it was kind of shot down. I'm very much of the opinion, I think the council changed the ordinances for a good reason, to allow anybody to put things on the agenda, and I think that should be the case. But I guess I would agree that I think what I would agree kind of, I don't think there's probably a difference code-wise now or law-wise now, legally now, between structural and non-structural items, but I think maybe that's a distinction that needs to be made from, you know, something like this continuing to be on the agenda and continuing to obstruct, you know, the beginning of city council meetings, because I hate that we keep arguing about this to start every meeting, especially even before we get to the pledge. I think it's just, I think it's pitiful, honestly, so. Anyway, I would be supportive, I mean, if we want to look into defining what a structural item is, as opposed to a discussion item, and then preventing structural items from being added without a majority of the vote of the council, I'd be supportive of that, but absolutely not shutting down any discussion items. That goes against the whole purpose of why the council changed the ordinance earlier in this administration, so that's it.
Okay, thanks. Heather?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Mac?
Well, I think it's petty that we keep voting this down or whatever. And Pat, if you could look in to see if the indefinitely is legit in the structural items of the agenda, I would appreciate that. I'm just trying,
I can look, Mac.
I
I'm
mean,
not sure
we
it's
could
gonna
sit up
be
here
a
and talk
black
all
white
day, but
Situation, I just have to warn you, I'm not sure it's black and white.
I know.
It may fall into a gray area, and then we'll be here every week arguing about it.
Okay.
I'm afraid that's what we're doing now.
Rich?
I'm not gonna go through all the speech here that I have, but I disagree with it, and I've stated my opinion. I have here our city ordinances, unless there's been some sort of change that I'm unaware of and it hasn't been updated in our ordinances, that states what we go by on that.
Okay. So I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it says something to the effect of any mayor or council member can add anything to the agenda. It doesn't say anything about structural change. I don't know where you're quoting that or citing that. Mac, I do agree with you. It is something that's petty. You made the motion. So,
Yes.
And I made the
Make a
second.
motion to
Yeah.
table it.
so, yeah, I mean, and I agree with Austin. The whole idea is we're trying to be more transparent. I don't necessarily have anything specific to talk about tonight. The point of it is, I'll give you an example. I believe, is he not in the audience anymore? We have somebody here that is gonna talk about something that I don't wanna get in a back and forth about necessarily at public comment, but there might be a need for someone to bring something up to where you can have an opportunity to address something that new that has come up during the course of a meeting. I think there's value in that. Adds transparency, it adds public awareness. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So I'm gonna put something like that on there until the end of time, unless you get the state attorney telling me that can't do it. There you go. All right, well, there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Baldrige,
Aye.
Can I get a clarification on what the
The
motion
motion is to table
Table it.
the item on our
15.
final agenda.
Okay.
That's the
Council,
motion.
final
Roll
comment.
call, please.
okay, so we have Baldrige already. Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran,
Ooh, no, that means a supermajority was reached, so it does get struck.
You can get justification in that as well. I
Yeah.
have an argumentation here that was a lie.
It's not a lie.
It is.
OMA states,
Show me.
OMA states,
I have it right here. Show me where you.
Okay,
are.
guys.
well, we already moved
Hey,
on. Can't talk. I got no
Pledge
room
of
for.
allegiance.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we sit down, please.
Justice for all.
And terrible timing. I'd like to talk about, unfortunately, last Monday, we had Mayor George Cullinan had passed away. I did have an opportunity to talk to him as early as February 16th, before we honored Ken Vissering, as I wanted to talk to all the mayors. I know that during his time on council, there was an incredible amount of difficulty and challenges about all the development that we had on the west side. When I talked to him in person, I did not realize some of the details of just how difficult a lot of those things were that we see a lot of benefit from today. So I really appreciate the service that Mayor George Cullinan has given to the city, and I'd like to ask if you could join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Number 5, Mayor's Report. The first item I got is a letter I got from Acts Church, service letter. They asked me to read it, so I thought, and you'll understand why. Dear Mayor and City Council of Oglesby, over the last decade, Acts Church has led a campaign known as Hope Week. The idea of this campaign is to get thousands of Christians across the Illinois Valley to serve their community radically for 7 days in the summer. Our goal is that these actions inspire hope, which is the feeling that something good is going to happen. During these 10 years, we've accomplished 21,000 hours of community service and given away $225,000 worth of projects. We are setting the plans for Hope Week 2026 and would love to serve in your community once again. Hope Week has so far done 1,664 hours of community service in Oglesby, and it has been our pleasure to do so. This year, Hope Week will take place June 7th through June 13th. We will be reaching out to contacts from your community to make starting plans this month. But you are the people that know the community needs more than anyone else. Would you consider taking a few minutes to read this letter at your upcoming City Council meeting? With pleasure. And even discuss potential projects in a public or closed session. We'll do it in public here. We would love to hear your ideas you might have for Hope Week projects for this year or the years in the future. Common projects in the past have been cleanups, refurbishing city parks, painting curbs, repairing baseball diamonds, installing new playground equipment, and even creating new basketball courts. We have also done work on city buildings, community centers, libraries, and fire stations. We match talent to each project and never take on something we cannot safely accomplish. If you have questions, we'd be glad to take phone calls from City Council, Mayor, or city workers. If you think it would be beneficial, we would also be more than willing to attend a council meeting in April or May to discuss plans. Thank you, and we look forward to serving your community once again. Warmest regards, Pastor Cameron Graper. So I wanted to read that just because last year it really was something pretty special. I want to say there was, I know I gave the numbers, I want to say it was close to 40 or 50 people that came down. They had several different projects going on in the park. They had the painting, they had resurfacing and painting of all the picnic tables we did at Lehigh. We had work on the Lehigh stage that was done. We had work on the playground equipment. It really was something wonderful. I want to say it was like 3-4 hours of work. A lot of people put into it. I thought it was a great thing. I really appreciate that. So I figured I'd read the letter in whole because absolutely, we'd love something positive like that to happen again. I'm sure we'll talk out to city council members if there's something in your area, whether it's Parks Again Rich or other areas that we could use some help with. I think that'd be great. It was really a great thing to see. So thank you so very much for that, Acts Church. Number 2, April 23rd at Oglesby Elks is going to be taco night as a fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. One of the things I wanted to chat about this is I've lived in lots of different places. I've even lived in the Midwest as far as 2 hours away from here. And this was not a thing I experienced growing up. East Coast, West Coast, I've not really seen. I feel like it's a thing that's kind of local to this area where people do fundraising events with meals done at local establishments. I think it's a fantastic way. I'm mentioning this because not just for this one for Meals on Wheels, but there's a lot of them coming up as the season goes on. It's a great way. I try to participate in as many of them as I can because I look at it this way. You have to eat anyways, right? It's a meal you don't have to cook that night. And it's a way that you can give back to your community. So not only for this one, for Meals on Wheels, but there's lots of them coming up for different baseball boards, softball boards, ambulance service, firefighters, there's all kinds of great organizations that have it. I would highly recommend doing that. On the same note, number 3, celebrity bartending is at Cordelinos. April 18th, it's supporting the LP Booster Club 5 to 10. There's going to be 10 different teams of coaches there. So along the same lines, we have a lot of different type of volunteer type events and nonprofits that are trying to bring fundraisers by bringing activity even into the city of Oglesby. So please look into supporting those. And then the last item I have is number 4, LaSalle County Electronic E-Waste Recycling is going to be on April 11th, 8 to 12. But you do need to pre-register. You just can't show up. So you have to go on the county's website for that. I'll see if I can put a link, if we can put a link up for it, maybe on the city's page. But you do need to pre-register. It is eligible for Oglesby residents. Those are the only items I have. Number 6, public comment on agenda items only.
This on? Yep.
You gotta pull it towards you.
Okay. Jennifer, you can have my notes that I'm gonna work off of when I'm done. I want to talk about closed sessions and the data usage in the cloud and the power usage in the data centers keeping the cloud energized. And how this console goes in, I've done some calculations. Just the first quarter of 2026, the entire meetings were 16 hours and 26 minutes, of which closed sessions took 8 hours and 6 minutes. So it's about 50-50. You're spending out here in front of the camera, and then half of the time that YouTube currently, it was Facebook for a while, has to eat those minutes with sometimes a paddle fan spinning up there. Okay? The next thing here is I'd like to see that clock on that space right there so we can at least see the hand clicking around as the camera's catching nothing up here. And we can see how time is progressing in here, like 10 minutes going on 15 for that pettiness at the beginning of the meeting. I'd like to see the camera move to the north. You can put a conduit there and leave the hole in the wall for the wire, but mount the camera to a conduit so we can see Jennifer behind that column. If it's not a supporting column, I'd like to see it gone, but I don't know if it's up there for an air conditioner or it's actually a supporting beam column. The next thing is Rich's sound level. Do you use your microphone or do you just talk softly when it's your time to talk to the?
I don't want to interrupt you, but so a lot of these things that you might be talking about are kind of the open comment section. I mean, if you want to talk about the closed session, that is an item on there. If you're going to talk about how, again.
Real quick, I'm done. All right? The sound levels, I was wondering whether you had a microphone and the counselor had a microphone. Same thing. It's hard to hear. I sit at my laptop usually with one of these, bringing it up to my ear, back, and then somebody loud talks into the mic, and then I'm in the process of assembling a spreadsheet of all the files that kind of, because of the stuff going on in closed session, drop into the cloud very sporadically. It's hard to keep notice when they actually show up. So I'm trying to create a spreadsheet to keep track of if I have them or not, to bring into my, and then we pay the mayor twice the salary of you four, and the pettiness of this, and you know the different form of government that we went through at the last full-on election. I'm kind of disappointed in this strong council and weak mayor form of government. That's all I got to say.
Okay. So just for future reference, again, please try to separate comments for the ones that are agenda items versus not agenda. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Greg. All right. Number 7. Approved minutes from March 16th, 2026, regular meeting, and April 1 special meeting. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 8, approved minutes from the March 3rd and February 17th, 2026 special sessions. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
That should say executive session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
I-
It was mine.
I
Are
wrote,
these the ones we reviewed last time?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been so long. I know.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second it.
roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 9, approved bills presented for payment in the amount of $993,828.60 for Vissering Construction and $643,694.70 for regular monthly bills, for a total of $1,637,523.30. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications to the bills, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Aldrich,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 10, Approve payroll for March 27th, 2026 in the amount of $64,898.94. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications, can I get a motion to approve the payroll?
I'll make a motion, we approve payroll for March 27th, 2026 in the amount of $64,898.94.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 11, old business. A, discussion and possible action on purchase of equipment tractor. McDermott.
Okay, the tractor's still at Martin Implement. I've had people reach out to me about a Mini. It's really, the city really needs the tractor, but anybody have any comments? This has been beat multiple times.
Go around the room. Rich?
Not yet.
I'm tempted to just put this dog to bed and bite the bullet and just get the tractor. I think it's gonna have to happen.
$230,000 in the budget.
Yeah, well, you also need one, so.
1 out of 10. Anything else?
No.
Hillary?
I feel like my head's spinning because originally we said the first tractor was so unsafe, it's unfixable, the equipment's, don't make the parts anymore. Now it's getting fixed. We have 2 already in the city, and now we want to get a 3rd. Like, I want to join the backhoe gang. Can I get in there?
Sure. We'll just have to get your CDLs and we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
get you qualified. Yeah.
I don't think we need 3 in the city. If we're going to maintain 3, that's excessive. I originally brought up the mini backhoe idea, and I liked the idea of it because it would offer more flexibility, especially since the backhoe goes
Mm-hmm.
straight, whereas the mini backhoe, you have a whole 360 turn there. So that would be
There
nice.
is advantages to the Mini.
Yes.
I'll give that,
And it's cheaper.
but it's a lot, well, it is, but you gotta look at the function of the backhoe. The city really needs a backhoe.
Okay, so, a couple things. We talked, for those that probably did not tune into this, special session, I had to be remote on that one though, but we did talk about this at length for a little while. A couple things with it. I think the determination is the city needs a backhoe. We need something of that size and caliber to do some of the heavy-duty work. I'm not doubting that. Right now, we have 2 of them. They're extremely costly to maintain. Maintenance is very difficult, challenging, and everything with it. So one of the things that, Hillary, I think you brought up earlier is the mini backhoe type idea, because I know a lot of cities are utilizing this. I'm not sure if it's for supplemental, as we talked about, and I made a mention of that, and I think at the time you mentioned that it's still like $100,000. Well, oddly enough, the reason I wasn't here, I was at a convention, and one of the things that happened to be there was miniature backhoes. So I took a couple pictures of a couple that were there, and I asked the vendors there what their value was. Now, granted, that was not for like a water sewer infrastructure type of thing, but they were for city use, and they did go down 120 inches. There was one on the left, one on the right, one was slightly bigger than the other. That was, I don't have the pictures to put up here, I should. One was mid to low 40,000, and the other was mid to low 50,000s. So it's not quite $100,000 for them. I don't know if those things
Well-
have all the attachments that we need to solve all of our things, but what I really think we should look into is, since these things are so costly, I think that maybe because of a city of our size, we have one well-maintained, good-working backhoe that can be for our heavy stuff, and then we have a secondary that is one of these mini ones that we can have on a flatbed, stored in, whether it's at the electric department or the street department, wherever they have room for, and it's on there, it's ready to go in a moment's notice. Hopefully that can be the new workhorse for most of the projects that we need, so that way they're easier on maintenance, they're easier on, so instead of maintaining 2 very extremely expensive pieces of gear, we have one expensive piece of gear that needs to be maintained well, and then we have our other one that can be our workhorse for a lot of the more easier things. And I'm telling you, these other ones that are smaller, just like Hillary says, did you say that they're easier to use? Or is it-
Versatile.
Yeah,
They're
more
versatile.
Yeah.
They go through
I
60.
even got to get in it, and if an idiot like me, a sailor, can use it, anybody can use this thing. I mean, granted, it took me 4 minutes to move the pin over and drop it in the hole compared to the pros that do it in 25 seconds. But It's the idea that it's relatively easy to use. They even had rubber tracks because they're meant to be on city streets as an opportunity. So I think that's what we should look into. If we were able to rent this one another month or two or whatever, and then we would put it into our appropriations. You could buy, whether you needed the backhoe to get as new, which sounds like that's what we do need. And then the next year or whatever, you could buy the miniature version of everything, and then that way you have two pieces of equipment to maintain on different equipment cycles. That's my 2 cents.
Well, I would admit I'd like to have a mini because they're versatile. They go 360 all the way around, but it's not feasible for the city to just have that. Not the backhoe is your backbone, other than the trucks. I know we've been beating it to death. As far as the minis you were looking at, a lot of it, you get what you pay for. The John Deere and the Cats, for their minis, you can't beat them. They're more sturdy, they're structural. But if this council feels that way, I'll go ahead and table it and do with what I need to do.
I think at the last meeting, Hillary said something that I agreed with. It sounds like you have something in place right now. It's not super cost effective because we're renting one month to month, but at least it's not an emergency. Nobody's in an unsafe situation, which is the first thing that we have to answer. We got to make sure our workers are safe from everything. It's up to the council, but that'd be my recommendation is get one solid state backhoe that we need to maintain for our heavy stuff, and then try to make the workhorse the one that's more easier to use and cost effective. So that way, in the long run, we're not maintaining two extremely expensive pieces of equipment.
Okay.
We got one and then a cheap one. That'd be my 2 cents. And
And I'll
open
look
table.
into the referendum and everything
Go
I
ahead.
else.
was shown an email where, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the mechanic to take a look at that. He couldn't find it, I guess, with the holidays and everything. Upon looking at his list of the maintenance and fixes that they were going to do, he claims to me, and there was an email sent out that we're unaware of, that says that most of that is due to non-maintaining the machine enough. Commissioner Moyle, her construction experience apparently, has come up with another idea that we could possibly hire that guy on a more better basis than what we do, like monthly or 3 months or something, to where he comes in and changes the oil, checks for spark plugs, puts antifreeze in them, and checks all those things to possibly keep what we already have going better and the new things. But I don't, in his opinion, just looking at the things that were wrong with that one, he claimed that the bushing had gone out in the pin, and that does need to have professional maintenance to fix that. But his opinion was that after that was fixed, with proper maintenance, he believes that, he said he would guarantee 10 years or better. He has no problem with saying that that piece of equipment would last a good 10 years with proper maintenance. So I'm not a mechanic.
So are you suggesting that we hire a city mechanic?
I don't know how you would do it. I think
No.
it just needs to be more on a more frequent basis. It's frequent. Everything should be looked at. They should be, after winters, I know you're looking into a hot seat before, they should be sprayed down, get all that salt and everything off the entire piece of equipment and all the stuff that's used outside, right after, first thing in spring. I don't know if that's done with, that's everybody that does every equipment in the city, so.
Well, that got shut down too, though.
What I'm hearing is a more detailed equipment maintenance log.
Or his other suggestion was, if we're dead set on getting a new backhoe, as he said, Lance said the last time, Mendota just got rid of one that was only like, what, 6 years old?
The one that you're renting.
Is Mendota's?
Yeah, it's 3 years
And
old.
Communities go 5 years in trade.
He's saying that we could probably pick a decent one like that up for $70,000, roughly. He says.
I'd be curious to know if Mendota does that, what the depreciation rate is for
Buy 'em every
what you buy 5 years and then what you.
I will
A
tell
lot.
you, the guy that we dealt with at Martin, he said that nobody's ever traded one in and lost money. So if you had 50,000 left to pay, he said, it's never been less than 50, just for that argument's sake, that example.
Maybe he gave Mendota
That
What's
is a
bring the
big
final
thing,
price
that
to?
government discount is huge.
What's it bring the final price to?
Once,
Oh,
back
gosh.
was like 150.
One-
Is that the lease or is that the sale?
169?
Up to 168.
Yeah. But I also got the,
And the thumb attachment to actually be able to grab.
So we would
And I also
buy
got the
that
maintenance.
regardless.
One at a time.
I also got the maintenance on it too, though.
Well, that's paying $7,000 a
Mhm.
year, whether it's maintained or not.
Right.
I think regarding the current backhoe, I mean, the people that work with it every day, I think, maybe, hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I mean, what I more or less gather is, I mean, the people that work with it every day, I mean, one person can say one thing, but the people that work with it every day seem to think it's a piece of junk. And ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like we can kick the can down the road and, you know, try and get something cheaper, and maybe that Mendota one would be a good thing. But I mean, you're getting a $70-some thousand rebate off of the purchase of a new one, and you know, you're getting somewhat of a warranty. I know that we'll use it more than 600 hours or whatever, but I mean, ultimately, again, too, like Lance said, I doubt with the rising costs of everything that we're going to lose money on it in the long run. We'll probably be able to. We'll probably make out, honestly, on the residual for $55,000. They'll probably be worth, you know, even if it's worth, like Mendota's right now is worth $75,000. I mean, if that's the same backhoe, they basically, that's like they could have if they could have bought it for a $20,000 discount, basically. So I don't know. I just think we need to get the backhoe situation squared away. I'm supportive of just purchasing a new one and putting it into the appropriations for the forthcoming fiscal year.
Well, I don't know about us, especially if we decide to adopt the idea to where you're gonna have one primary one and then a smaller one. I don't like the idea of having used ones. Maybe, again, I don't know the exact finance numbers on it, but I mean, if Mendota is buying $160,000, let's say it's $150,000, and after 5 years, they're offloading it for $75,000, that means, you know, 75,000 divided by 5, what is it, 15,000 a year? So,
It's 250,000.
$250,000.
Yeah, it's 250.
230, I'm sorry. The 70,000 came off of that, so that's what you're paying. But the back was actually worth like 230.
Okay, I'm just trying to look at how much the depreciation amount is.
Your numbers are-
Well, I don't have any numbers, right, because I don't have it in front of me. So all of them are wrong. I'll acknowledge that. But what I'm saying is whatever that number is minus the amount that you offloaded for, that's your depreciation over 5 years. If that is the only depreciation part then that's what goes into our appropriations budget for what we maintain for this. So I would recommend, if we absolutely need it and we don't want to do, this rental thing is just not going to work, even to cover us for whatever, then we could buy the one that we need now, if it's such a great deal or whatever, and then you start looking into a transition plan, getting rid of our junk ones to replace with a secondary, smaller one that can be the workhorse.
Put them in a rotation.
In a rotation, you know, and my understanding is their maintenance, as long as their maintenance cycles aren't the exact same with replacement times, and the other one's significantly cheaper, we are doing the city a service with its, you know, fiscal funds. That'd be my 2 cents, so, you know.
I would also add, I think the number I gave last time after I recalculated everything was we spent about, since 2024, in less than 2 years, we spent $37,000 on repairs for it. And I mean, if you take that and you times it by 5 years, I mean, I just rounded it up, it's like 18 something. But if you round it up to $19,000 times 5 years, it's $95,000.
That's what I'm saying, you're almost.
You're
at my
almost
point.
buying your
Yeah.
tractor.
You're almost at your depreciation amount that you would lose on having a
So
new
did you
one.
take
Yeah.
into consideration the value of maintaining the equipment properly?
Well, yeah, I think we need to maintain the equipment properly, and I'm supportive of what you said. I mean, if we don't, I can't speak to what our maintenance schedule is on that stuff, but I absolutely,
I've asked for them for 2 years, I've yet to receive a maintenance schedule.
well, I don't know what other departments do in terms of maintenance, but I agree, should be some sort of maintenance schedule for it, so, you know, we're not in these predicaments, but I just think we're kind of really just kicking the can down there. I get the intent behind it, of course. I mean, I want to save, you know, every penny, nickel, and dime as well. But I just think, you know, we're just gonna end up making things harder than they have to be. I would just bite the bullet and buy the backhoe and be done.
I do think that needs to be one of our goals as a council for all. I think the police have a pretty good maintenance schedule for their vehicles and stuff, because they send them in to get service and everything. I know the last council, we had a big focus on making sure that all of our equipment wasn't coming, because we noticed that a lot of our trucks were coming due at the same time. So we fixed kind of all the pickup trucks throughout the city. and we fixed, I believe, the dump trucks, with the exception of the one that you had to purchase for the bad one, that they're all 5 years off of each other, offset. So that way you've structured the replacement thing to be more linear with everything. But I think maybe that should be the next goal, is making sure that everybody has a structured maintenance plan for all their equipment. We owe it to the taxpayers for that. Okay, any other comments on this topic?
I owe it to the taxpayers to look into
Right.
this a lot more than we already have. We got a bid for a lease, we got a bid for a new one, and we were told that the other one's junk, that $19,000 for repair, and it'll still be junk, but we're gonna keep it anyway because apparently then it won't be junk, but yet we have to get a new one. I think there needs to be more behind this, and as a taxpayer, spending $169,000 or something, I think we should look into it. I don't think we should just jump into something because, we feel like we have to hurry up and do it. Well,
Okay.
we're not in any hurt right now about safety because you have the brand new
We
one,
have-
3-year-old one there, so.
We have one.
It's also $4,500 a month.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at that, $4,500 a month means you're depreciating, at that long term, you're depreciating more than $50,000 a year on top of that, if you continue doing that. So that's not a good long-term strategy.
No, it's not.
So if you need to be able to cover yourself, because safety-wise, for another month or two to get your answers, I think that's acceptable. But Rich, so what I'm hearing is, you want more, what information do you think we need to
Are there
have before?
other places that sell these things? I mean, is this the one or?
I think we had one from Cat.
Did we
at
get,
one
we had
point,
more than
right?
one,
We
I said
had
there was
one
more
from
than one
Cat.
quote,
One
right?
was for a sale and one was for a lease, right?
I
They
think
both
all
were
of
the
them have been
same.
for
They're
leases,
for
haven't they?
They're
Give you the
both.
option for lease and buy on it, but one was the cat, one was the deal.
Right. And at the end, you get to decide whether you wanna keep it or trade it in and keep
And what
everything
was the
going.
buyout, $55,000 if it stayed under the 600 hours per year?
Mm,
I don't,
some
oh,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
You didn't have to stay on
it
the.
doesn't,
No, it
okay.
doesn't.
And I will tell you, the gentleman that was the salesman, if, let's say, it was 55 and they only gave you a trade-in value of 50, the city's not on the hook for the other 5 grand.
Right.
You're at whatever your buyout is. You just don't get anything extra. But if your trade-in value 70, you get that extra 15,000. You're not losing money at the end. Deer eats it. Does that
But
make
if
sense?
we were gonna keep it, that's.
You would-
Then you just finish paying it
$55,000
off,
At the
yeah.
end, we had to pay, so that 1 month's
Mhm.
payment instead of $18,000 a year for the maintenance right now, and plus having.
But then if it's $55,000 and the thing's worth $75,000, I mean, we're still,
Not in the sales business, we're here to.
well, I mean, we're not in the sales business, but I mean, I still think that's something to consider is the value of the equipment, so.
I know this feels like this drones on a little bit, but I just want to say I do appreciate this kind of discussion. This is
This-
healthy
what you
discussion,
should
it
do.
really is, because we're trying to look for the best way to make sure the taxpayer dollar is stretched to the best of our abilities and making sure our people are safe at the same time. So it is a good thing. The question is, what other information do we need to have? Do we have enough to make a decision? Do we not? I think I am willing to support the idea of having a new, the idea of having a new, always ready, well-maintained backhoe on staff, or I don't know, whatever, as a piece of equipment to have, and then the miniature one as a backup that can be the workhorse for all the lighter loads that we have. I think that's what I'd be willing to support right now, if that's what people wanna do, or if they feel like we need more information or more time, or whatever. I would recommend, if everything is safe at least right now, I would love to see if we could at least stretch this to another 2 months to appropriations. So that way, we're not, I mean, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. I think Pat said we had more than enough wiggle room that we can do stuff, but I like to try to maintain things as best we can within our appropriations budget.
And you have less than a month, Jason.
Less than a month.
It's less
The
than a
new
month.
fiscal year starts May 1st.
So, yeah.
I just
I've
wanna be
already
clear.
looked into it.
So we have a 3-man street department,
Mhm.
essentially, and we have 2 backhoes now that are going to be working. We've sent one for repair, and we have another one in the electric department. And we're
Mhm.
proposing getting a third, so we'll have 3 backhoes.
I'd like to I'm proposing, my recommendation is that when we get the new one, we transition out the other 2 that are absolute junk.
Yeah.
Now, if that takes
There was the
time,
mini.
I don't know, I'm not saying it's gotta be done immediately, but then we replace those 2 crap ones with a good miniature version of stuff that can be our workhorse for the non-heavy jobs.
Right.
That's my 2 cents. Cause that way, overall, we're paying less maintenance overall in the long
Yes.
run.
I
Well-
believe my department said that he's fine and he's happy with the old backhoe,
Yeah.
so.
They have the old one down there.
We do need another truck though.
You don't wanna go to have one of the mini excavator options?
I don't think that it would be valuable for them.
So you think that, so you're saying
He's
you,
happy with what he has, and I don't think that I'm even gonna waste any time looking into spending money that nobody's asking for.
so you're saying you do want us to maintain 2 backhoes then?
Well, the one
Well,
that,
one for the electric, one for the
the
street.
electric
We're
company,
not asking to
got
do
their own.
anything with this, we're not involved in it at all.
But you're
You guys are
currently
gonna keep the
maintaining.
old one that was so bad that we had to get rid of it, you guys were gonna keep it and use it down there, and then drive this new one up and down the streets, I guess. I don't, it has nothing to do with my departments.
I think it does, because that's the reason we have that second backhoe, is we have another one in the city if something were to go wrong with the other one. So I think it does relate, because it's about sharing resources for what we have. That's my 2 cents.
and just so you know, we were gonna take the old one and use it for filling up the trucks, so you ain't running back and forth on the street or nothing. And miss, you know,
Well,
put
to
a
me,
lot
that
of
changes,
hours.
because that means that I'm hearing that we wanna maintain multiple backhoes then. That, I mean,
Well, that's what we were talking about doing.
okay, I don't know if that's a great idea, because they're so expensive. And apparently the other one, maybe it serves the needs of the electric department right now, but my understanding is it's so bad it can't even be used.
The
Yeah, the-
electric one's fine, we've never had a problem, he just told me.
My understanding was that it cannot function well enough to do the needs of the water and street department. Is that accurate or no?
My personal opinion is there's a difference between using it for jobs and using it while there was utilities and people around, if that makes any sense. I think you do need 2 backhoes in town though, because what happens if you both departments need one? You have a storm, something, and you need backhoes.
Well, you have the mini one. I mean, do you have a need for the heaviest duty version in both places at once? Maybe.
Right, but a mini can't be used like a backhoe.
So,
No.
I'm unfamiliar with the process here, what exactly are we paying, this back truck that we were looking to get last year? What's their part of this process, and, can you walk us through, like, what does the backhoe do, what does the back truck do, and who's doing what? I've never seen them, so.
So, a backhoe will dig, it'll take the street, no, it'll take the street out, it'll take the concrete, it'll take the majority of the dirt and everything out. The back truck is got a high pressure wand with a suction tube, and then if your utilities around, the backhoe can't dig, so it will actually, the back truck will dig, it has slower rate than a backhoe, obviously, but it will suck around the utilities and everything. And a lot of our water leaks, we don't get shut down, so it is actually sucking the water out of the bottom of the hole as we're fixing.
Basically, so you don't touch
Yeah.
any electric
The
or
reason
anything.
I ask is one day I noticed that they had also brought on a trailer, a Mini X, and, we're utilizing that. I was kinda concerned as we're rushing into this, if there's a possibility that perhaps this, vac company could also continue to use their Mini X and alleviate us from having the safety issues and anything associated with it at all. Possibly sub that job to them so that we're out of the equation totally, and therefore that piece of equipment shouldn't have to leave or run back and forth that often. I don't know what, if that was looked into at all, to ask them what, if they're capable of doing that. I think that should be looked into.
Well, they're capable of doing it, and we get charged every time they come out.
Everything has a price tag.
That's
Well,
it right
it's my
there.
understanding, we're paying around $150,000 right now for the back truck, so I don't know what, I was asking for numbers in prior meeting to see what exactly it would cost to just have him do the whole job, as opposed to the portion that he's doing, if it would be cost effective for the city. If you're paying him already, why would you not look and see, okay, what would it take you to complete the job? I think it's foolish not to ask him, like, how much more would it cost us? It's costing us $10 and you could do the rest of it for 15. Maybe it's something we look at and say, hey, you're already there, you have your equipment here, maybe you should do it for 15.
But you also gotta look at it too, Rich. If they're coming in at midnight or 2 in the morning, that guy's on overtime, and it's gonna cost us more.
I don't know that
Well,
that's how we pay it, like, we don't pay you for overtime.
He's salary.
So, we sign a contract with
It's like rub
somebody
it in.
and that's their thing. That's
We're paying people twice then. We have a street
Yeah.
department that could be doing that work, and we're paying somebody else to do it, so,
Well,
I mean,
I'm paying them people right now. My-
The reason of the mini, and I'm not sure what day that was, we had our backhoe was down,
Mm-hmm.
and then, we recently just had it because we didn't have the manpower, to fix it on the big and drive the truck. So I'm not sure what day that was, if it was recent or not, but,
If you're reasoning, Austin, then why we're still paying that fee for the back, and we tried to get a back truck, and we were met with resistance at that as well, that there was no possible way for us to do that. I'm just trying to look at cost-effective ways to try to possibly save the city some money.
Well, I don't think
at all the
anybody up
options.
here is trying to lose the city money, but I just think at the end of the day, I mean, we're paying somebody to come out, we're paying to repair the backhoe, we're paying for a rental backhoe. I mean, that stuff all adds up, and I know a lump sum of $170,000 or whatever for a backhoe is a big pill to swallow. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're just gonna continue to, I feel like this is gonna be, this has been the case since we've discussed this up here. We've talked about it, and I feel we're gonna continue to talk about it, and just do piecemeal stuff that's ultimately gonna end up costing us more money. So I just think we be done with it. Wash our hands, buy the backhoe, make sure they have the equipment that they need, and just stop even debating this. I mean,
It goes up
if we
every
come
year.
out on, ultimately, if we come out on the wrong side of it, Rich, and it would have been cheaper to pay other,
Going up?
and it would have been cheaper to fix the backhoe we have, pay somebody to come out, pay this, pay that. I can only imagine that it would be a few $1,000s difference at that. And honestly, I doubt it would even be that. I think we'll be money ahead, so.
But we're
I mean-
already fixing the backhoe.
I know we're already fixing the backhoe, but we spent
And then we're gonna
37,000.
continue to fix it
spent-
because we're keeping it.
Yeah, I understand, but I also think it's gonna be doing different work though than what it's been doing. I mean, it's not gonna be,
It's not
doing
gonna
what the
be as
street
heavy.
departments are doing right now. I can't imagine that the maintenance we'll be putting into it will be as substantial as it currently is, so. I don't know. I think we gotta bite the bullet on this.
Well, when our taxes go up over it, I'll be here to,
Well, your taxes went down this year, so.
yeah, for sure did.
Well,
Rate went down.
Tax rate, yes, your appraised value went up, but your tax rate went down, so.
Taxes never go down. but
I
the
understand.
rate goes down,
I
yeah.
understand, yes.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so, all right, we've had a lot of talk, we've had a lot of discussion, and it's all good discussion. I know sometimes it feels that it's circular, but it's still positive. So at the end of the day, what is it we wanna do? Do you have enough, do we not have enough information to go ahead? I think there is enough information to go ahead, just the route of how we wanna take. I heard different things that we wanna separate the electric department from the street department. I don't know if I like that idea for maintaining two pieces of equipment, that are extremely
We've been doing it
expensive.
this whole time.
I know, and it's apparently extremely not cost
bad.
effective.
Do you have numbers from the electric department? I don't believe that there's anything other than maintenance that's been done to it. I don't know how it's not cost effective. There's been no complaint.
My
We didn't
understanding
even
is
know
we
they
have
had it.
another backhoe in the city that can't be used as a backup for the other work. That's my understanding. If I have that wrong, then let me know. Do I have that wrong? Or is that accurate? You don't wanna answer. That's okay, all right. All right. Well, it's your department. I'm here to support you on how you can get it done. You have a couple different options in front of you. Do you have a recommendation?
I'll make a recommendation that we purchase the tractor. I'll look into everything everybody wants, and I'll make the final decision.
So you wanna purchase the backhoe for a
Backhoe.
new one, then what is your plan going forward with the rest of the equipment that we have
Well,
in the
we'll
city?
take a look into the mini and trading off the tractor that the street department has for that. I will definitely look
Cause
into
right
it.
now, the street department maintains one backhoe, so what you're
Mhm.
saying is you'd like to get a new backhoe
And then investigate.
and
the mini.
investigate having a secondary one, but yet we're still gonna have the other one in the city, cause that's a little different than what my recommendation was, which is fine to have that recommendation, but what we're saying is you wanna get a new one and then maintain another piece of equipment on top of it.
Well, we'll look into getting a mini instead, but
Lance?
we gotta get the tractor.
I have a question. So, kind of as to what I said before, I mean, if we buy a new backhoe, we move the other we have the other two do whatever. I mean, really, how much maintenance are we gonna have to do on the other two as opposed to the main backhoe?
I'm not sure what the electric department uses
Yeah.
theirs for and how much they use it.
Yeah.
Speak to that. The other backhoe there, I mean, Dan would know better, but I feel you could get rid of that one. You know what I mean? You just have a little more use on the other one. I didn't know if you guys would wanna keep that other backhoe that's getting repaired to have less use on the new one, which you don't necessarily need both of them at the street department. If that
No, you don't. And we could look at a mini. If that's what everybody wants to do.
Okay.
So we're giving the mini and a backhoe?
Well, I think we're talking
Figure out how
about,
much you guys are throwing around.
I think we're talking about phasing equipment out and having a regular, equipment replacement schedule, similar to what Mendota does, I would assume, because that one's what, 5 years old?
3.
3 years old, yeah, so they're
Mhm.
replacing them every 3 years, and I'm sure, they have what, 3,000 more people than us, I mean, this isn't rocket science to them, so,
I'd be curious to know if that mini can do you're saying they do different functions. I'd be curious to know if that
Mhm.
mini can do what the electric department has its needs for. Cause then
It's a digger. The mini's a digger.
and that's all they need it for is like posthole digger, stuff like that,
No,
or?
it
It can dig.
digs holes, leaks, things like that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the one for the electric department.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
No, they
though,
have
it's
an
not a
auger on
backhoe
the
that can
trucks.
haul things and do that, you know what I mean? The backhoe's got the front bucket, obviously, that has a lot of use to it.
And it's got an auger in the back.
The backhoe also can dig deeper, it has an extension on its backhoe part, so you can go deeper than what a mini can. Unless you upped your mini to a bigger one, which then your cost is moving more.
Yeah. I'm just looking for a way to make our costs be better overall. That was my thought process, that you have maybe, and again, I'm not saying which department needs what, but you get the main backhoe for the street department, that's what they have. The electric department has maybe a mini, or whoever has it, and it's on a trailer ready to go,
I don't
and
think
whoever
they
needs to use it can use it.
Dig a hole.
As long as both pieces of equipment can function for both parts of the city, we've now saved how we do maintenance spending. That was my general thoughts. That may not work out in theory if it can't solve all the same situations, though.
Well, you still have two backhoes, cause the money's being put into the one that the streets department currently has, so, you still have two backhoes at the end of the day if we get rid of the other one,
Well, then, to me, the one piece of information I would like to know is there a mini configuration that could solve all of the electric department's needs? Because if that's the case, then that should be the
well,
answer.
I don't
If
think
it
that,
can't.
I don't think that needs to be addressed right now, though.
No, I
don't think
said that's one piece of
Sitting
information I
Sitting
don't
here
have.
again, with really no information, and we're all babbling, and honestly, there's not a person here that knows exactly what the hell they're talking about, so I don't know why
Which
we
is,
don't find the information.
which
before
is
you
exactly
spend
why
this
I
money.
think we should be taking the advice of the people who work with the equipment every day as to what they need,
Their
so.
professionals at it too, so they know about that.
Yeah,
Where was the information
I think
for
so.
what he's talking about, the information for mechanical things behind it, but many.
I think we just discussed at the last meeting that we spent $37,000 on repairs the last 2 years on it.
But some of that was a battery. A battery goes out.
3,000.
I have to replace the
Okay.
battery in my car even with good maintenance.
Well, regardless, at the end of the day, I don't know.
Well, maybe we don't have enough information. I'd like
Okay.
that
I don't
answered
think,
about the.
at this rate, I don't think we're ever gonna have enough information.
Oh, eventually you hit critical mass, because you get so much.
Okay, I'll
information.
tell you,
I will
I'll tell you what
tell
I
you
can do.
this.
One at a time.
I will
Well,
feel
I think she
comfortable
started first.
purchasing a new backhoe if we have a maintenance program in place that we know is working and that we will continue to maintain our new stuff and our stuff that we aren't, not just the backhoe, but all of it.
I agree with you
Okay.
100%, Hillary.
All of it needs
That's
to
where I
be.
stand.
I think that's
maintained.
perfect.
Go ahead.
Totally agree
I'll
with you.
agree.
That's already in an ordinance, I
Yeah,
believe,
it is.
or it's in the policy
Should be.
somewhere.
Well,
It's getting
we're getting to
people
that next.
Follow it. I mean, you can say it all day long, but at the end of the day, it wasn't done.
Well, maybe it needs to be a council level discussion that we have at a future
I think
meeting.
Mac was trying to say something. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Mac.
Okay, I agree, there should be, that's why I've got the warranty and the maintenance with it. I'll go ahead and I'll table this one more time, and I'll get the mini, and we'll figure out a path of how we're gonna do this, whether we're gonna keep both tractors, or should I say three, trade one in for a mini, or what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Well,
Is there any
definitely
other
gotta do
piece of
something.
information? Is there any other pieces of information? That's the only thing I
So
can
what's-
think of that I don't
I'm
know.
gonna ask this, what information does everybody want?
How often is it greased? How many hours is on it? How
Okay,
often
you
do
want
they
the
use it?
maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think we already have maintenance invoices. I think,
No, those are.
I think, well, so yes, but that's what was received when people asked for maintenance records was invoices, because you asked, accounts payable for that. So the city clerk's office isn't gonna have how often it's been greased, especially since records aren't even kept here. Departmental
It's
records
never
aren't
been.
kept here. So, I mean,
To be fair, I don't think maintenance records.
well, no, but I'm just saying no records are kept in City Hall. So, you know, I don't think we're gonna have those records. So I think you're gonna have to refer to the streets department or, for those records. Cause, I mean, we've provided the records that we need to provide.
Yes.
To be fair, I think what Rich was talking about was establishing something, like paying something in for maintenance the yearly maintenance
We
thing.
can't do it. I'm not cutting anybody down.
No,
We can't do it.
I-
Let's get somebody that can.
And I think that's what, I think
That's
that's
I
what
agree.
saying.
we need to find out what parts have we just done, let's be honest, have we done a bad job with that in the past? Have we done a bad job with tracking our own maintenance on our own equipment? And if that's the answer, okay, buck up. Can we solve that in-house by having a more detailed, robust maintenance vehicle program for all equipment or whatever? And if the answer is not, then we take a look at what the cost is, like what Rich was saying. Is it a $7,000 a year thing to maintain a piece of equipment? If you're having something that's depreciating at greater than 25 grand a year because it's so bad, then $7,000 in maintenance for a plan is not a bad plan. All right, so I think that's a good question to ask. Look at what we can do, what can we reasonably do for maintenance in-house?
Well, I did get that maintenance attached to this.
Yeah, but that was
$7,000.
attached with some weird warranty thing. If
I
it's,
mean,
Basically a warranty like.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be daily maintenance. That's
Yeah.
not gonna be cleaning it. That's not gonna be greasing it. That's not gonna be after you use it,
Yeah.
taking care of it.
The other
It's gonna
question-
be air filters, oil
That's
changes.
true.
the other
You gotta
question I
take
would
care of
ask,
something.
though, about this is, we up here don't even know what maintenance a backhoe needs though either. So
I don't.
we're gonna sit up here and we're gonna have a discussion about a maintenance schedule for it. And we're gonna say, oh, well, maybe we should grease it every this many months as opposed to we have no clue what we're talking
I
up here.
think we're talking pretty high level here.
I've researched it.
Okay, well, if
High
you
level.
guys know the maintenance schedule for a backhoe, I will leave it to you.
Well, no,
'cause
that's what
I
I'm
sure don't.
I recognize that, but I think what we're saying is to find out, is that something that can be maintained in-house? If it is, great, we need to start doing it then. If the answer is no, then how much would a literal cost be of something like that, like Rich said? So I think those questions we can definitely get. I'd like to know what the capabilities of mini excavator type things are. Can that solve our issues between, especially for the electric department, if we're gonna go down to one primary and then a secondary is the cheaper, more easily maintained item? I'd like to know that, cause I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll get a hold of the Martin Implement. I'll ask them to come here to the next meeting. We'll get everything. We'll get the mini. We'll get the warranty, everything to be discussed. Because different equipment takes different amount of preparation and greasing and oil changes and everything else, okay? And I do know that because I was born and raised on a farm, okay? It's not rocket science. You do it. I'll get the man here. I don't claim to know everything. And if anybody does, you're lying, okay? But I'll get the guy here that knows, get the answers, and we gotta make a decision on it. One way or the other, we'll have to make a decision,
Okay.
okay?
So what I'm hearing is we're gonna see if we can get those answers.
If that'll
possibly
work
see-
for everybody.
So we're gonna get the answers to those questions, and we're gonna see if we can get someone here maybe as an SME to answer those
An
questions.
expert.
Okay, anybody else have any other
Alright.
questions on this topic at all? No, you really can't, sir. I mean,
have to wait to.
Public comment.
Go through things, I'm gonna bring this back up.
you certainly can, yeah, public comment, you can talk about anything.
Thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we can get a motion to table then?
I'll make a motion to table it and put it on the next meeting, and I'll get a hold of everybody. I'll get a hold of professionals.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Baldrich.
Aye.
Cullinan. McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Sorry, I know that's a long topic, we took a lot of time with that, but I do appreciate that those things are, I'd rather do those at working sessions, but there is value in that. All right, B,
That's good.
review current and new event budgeting, Curran. So, I had the ladies, put together something, I shouldn't say the ladies, our assistant event coordinators and assistants that we have in the office here. I think hopefully everybody got,
It's up on the board if you didn't. It's in
Okay.
the drive though.
So I wanted to kind of get an idea. We talked a little bit about, I know in the past, we looked at a really long schedule of different events, and I think the answer was that we didn't want to add other events because the cost of everything like that. So we've reduced some of the events that we have in the city right now. So I wanted to ask them, can you put together a budget of what it actually costs us to do these events? For one, I'd like to actually put it in the appropriate, so this is twofold. One, to put it in the appropriation ordinance coming up with actual line items, because Rich had brought up some topics about how much we spend on certain ones, who's approving that. So, kind of a fair point. I like the idea that we approve an appropriations ordinance, and it will have the line items in there, like what each event would cost, right? So that way we have an idea of what we're approving. And then the second thing was to take a look at what it is that we have here, because since we've dropped a few events, again, I'd like to get to the point to where we are having more events. So, Bark in the Park, I think they're estimating, well, they really dialed it down to the dollar amount here. Only $2,142. Summer Fun Fest, I have a hard time believing that, but they're saying between all the balances of everything, between the beverage sales, sponsorships, carnival costs, and everything like that, we're looking at spending only $3,961. I thought it was a little bit more than that. I guess in the past, we did technically bring money in, so that is it's a $4,000 loss. I'm actually surprised that Booze and Barbecue is $6,150. That one's a little heavier than I expected. And Harvest Fest is $4,750. I don't see we don't have the Winter Wonderland anymore because Weir Oglesby does it, but we do pay for some of the features for that, and I want to say it was like $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah, so what we did was we decorate the tree that they use for lighting, and we also donate the carriage to and pay for that for We Are Oglesby's event.
So we've reduced, one of the items that we no longer have here anymore is we used to do the summer car craze, or I think it was called Eats in the Streets at one point. So we've lost a July event we don't have anymore. And then, so my thoughts are, I'd like to take a look at those costs. If you look at just those 4 events that we have, it's only a cost of and that's even overtime and stuff like that. We're looking at $17,000 is all it really is. To me, I'd like to go with their recommendation by adding a few of the smaller events that we can expand. I'd like to have a more consistent time throughout the year. I think their recommendations, their email, what did it say? They're thinking about a back-to-school or end-of-year aloha party, a Christmas tree stroll in Seneca Square. I mean, this is their recommendation. I don't know, I think we already have enough with the Christmas stuff, but that's fine. Where businesses would sponsor and decorate a tree, a taste of Oglesby for restaurants to show their food, and Mardi Gras. These are a few that were discussed. They're into brainstorming and getting some more ideas as well. I'm fine with the back-to-school or end-of-school parties. I think those are great. We obviously have our big June event. We don't have anything in July right now. I'd really like to bring something into that. Mardi Gras would bring things a little bit earlier, because I think right now our major first event that we have is the Bark in the Park. So doing a Mardi Gras would bring everything significantly earlier than that. But I thought we'd go around the room, say everyone what they thought about, how much we think about the budget numbers that we have, and if anybody just has any recommendations. Austin.
The only thing I'll say, I mean, I actually thought Summer Fun Fest, if I remember the financials Becky sent out last year, I thought it actually made somewhat, I thought it made a few $1,000s or something like that.
Year.
I know, but just for reference, for context. The other thing is, I mean, I was at a event the other day, and I was just talking to a totally random lady who lives in Peru. And she was talking about something like Ottawa every Sunday in the summer or something, has music in the park or something of that nature, attracts people downtown, whatever. I'd really like to see some sort of summer programming, and I think we're probably, short notice on that. I mean, I also know that we have a downtown full of businesses who also have music and stuff, and maybe it doesn't need to be that, but the money was put into Seneca Square to make some sort of an event space, some sort of a shared space out of it. And it's, I've said this before, it's really criminally underutilized. It just kind of sits there, and it's something that people will occasionally walk through. You know, people will put bubbles in the fountain. Jason will make a Facebook video about it. You know, and that's really all it is. I mean, there's really not much of a purpose to it. There's kind of just as little of purpose to it as there was before, and so I'd really like to see, at least in the summer, some sort of regular programming there. I don't know exactly what it would be. You know, I'm not the person to ask about that type of stuff, but just something, you know, for people to know, you know, Summers and Oglesby on this date, they do something. I'd really like to see that, but like I said, as far as creativity, I'm not the person to ask for that, but those are my thoughts. So,
Hillary?
Instead of saying what I disagree with, I'll tell you what will make me want to have more events in Oglesby and be on board with that. Is, I have said it before, we have to have a purpose of having events. I don't think we should just have events to have a party. The purpose is to support our local downtown businesses, bring people in to use them. I think one of the biggest business venues we have downtown are bars. So I feel like us selling liquor in Seneca Square is counterintuitive to letting the bars take advantage of that. So I'm not for, I'll just say this, I'm not for creating any new events unless they are non-liquor related and it's gonna directly impact the businesses.
I don't really think our existing one should.
I can answer
should
that
sell
later when we
liquor,
come
but-
back around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're limited on how many liquor events we can have anyway, so we're kind of maxed out, so that's, okay, good feedback. Mac?
Glad to hear you say that. I actually agree. We are a bar community, and we need to utilize the bars, the bar owners, the businesses. I'd like to see more events guided toward that, to the businesses in town. I mean, what else would you have? That'd be the best thing. Go ahead, Rich, you got anything?
As opposed to parties, I guess my head's still wrapping around the things that we need in the city.
Yeah, I
They're
know.
important, so I really don't have an opinion on partying.
So,
Okay.
Austin, you brought up other events. So my ultimate goal was I would love to have something happening inside the city every single week. Late spring, all the way through summer, all the way through fall. I think that'd be great. I've talked about this in the past. We can't do that. The city can't put that on. One of the things, though, that we have seen that we've stimulated is when other organizations put on other types of events. I mean, don't get me wrong, the two biggest ones I can point out is We Are Oglesby. They took over the summer car show one and the winter event that we have. I think we need to be going that more direction. If we can stimulate to more events, go that way. The Turkey Trot, huge event in Oglesby. It's not put on by the city of Oglesby. Now, don't get me wrong, we support it. Technically, there is some money that's spent on that kind of stuff because we have, you know, cops to put some stuff up, barricades. There is some cost with those kinds of things, but for the most part, we're not having to run that. And jump down to bar events. Some of our different bar owners, I think there is a Oglesby Bar Association, and they will have certain things like zombie crawls and things like that they do. So there has been things that's happening. I think we need to help to stimulate that. As far as the Boots, Brews, and Barbecue, it has changed a little bit over time. We keep doing that. One of the things that we did is we opened up the street for public access during the daytime, because Boots, Brews, and Barbecue does not sell alcohol until the evening time happens. So what that does is it allows the bar owners that they can sell their alcohol and they can go in the open street. That's been authorized to do. So it does help stimulate that. But then once the street shuts down, that alcohol can't come across anymore. So then there's a barrier between there. But it still brings the activity into the city. What you were saying about liquor events, the good news is we can't create any more. There is some cheat arounds. Like, for example, it's based on your event. So it's not necessarily a day. That's how we kind of get around that rule when it comes to our Fun Fest. Our Fun Fest is listed as one single event, even though it's across 4 days. So that's how we get away with that. Our second event that we do is Boots, Brews, and Barbecue. Now, could we cheat on that more and create more events to say Seneca Square summer time frame and give a long time frame that we have alcohol? We probably could, but I think that's starting to be that's trying to stretch that. So I do agree. that I don't think we need to create more alcohol events. Our other ones that we had, like for example, when the city even had the car show, I don't think, we didn't sell our own alcohol. We opened up the park that allowed that. Boots, Brews, and Barbecue was the only one that we've ever sold the alcohol for. But our things like Harvest Fest, Bark in the Park, those aren't alcohol necessarily related. Bark in the Park doesn't necessarily help the downtown district. I do like the idea of trying to find more fun ways to get people into the downtown area, because I do think the purpose for that is it stimulates the bars and other nonprofits to want to create more events. I was just talking with Starved Rock Community Foundation, and they are looking to create another, what was it called? I think you're in the meeting. What was that? The trivia night. They wanted to
Oh,
do a
yeah.
trivia night thing.
Yeah, trivia.
And I told them about how SOS no longer does trivia night in February, and the Elks was such a great location for it because that place is like a bunker. You can't cheat at trivia. It's one of the best places in the region to do trivia. So I know when SOS used to do trivia that night, the downtown was packed because we used to have over 400 people go to that type of event. So anytime you can stimulate other nonprofits or businesses or organizations to create more events, I think that's a win. And I think for us to do that is creating more events that's bringing activity into the downtown area. So that's my 2 cents on that, of what we'd like to do. Here's what I was thinking. Any thoughts about the current number of what they have there when they say 17,000? I do feel like that's a little light, but to answer your question about Summer Fun Fest, yes, in the past, we used to make about 10 or 12 grand on Fun Fest. And then that would cover our other events that we'd have through the year. I think over time that has gone. We're looking at a cost now of about $3,900, but that's because, fireworks went up by like 30%, and all these things, these costs have gone up with the revenues not necessarily matching that. We could increase beer sales, the cost, but our beer is relatively, it's a big seller to get people to come there because it's not too crazy on price. But I was curious to see what the council maybe thought about, what they thought about the 17,000, if they thought there was room in the budget to create, because again, we only have 4 official events that we do right now. Any thoughts on that?
Well, like I said, I mean, if we could create something, some sort of regular programming, I would love it. Like I did mention when Hillary was talking, I know you said we're kind of maxed out on liquor, but I really, frankly, for the idea of Boots and Brews, I mean, I know that we're making $1,200 so off of it, but I really don't even, I mean, I'd rather eat the $1,200 and give those sales to the bars and, let people drink that way. I mean, we're getting that money back anyway in the form of sales tax, maybe not all of it back in the form of sales tax, but, helping out the local businesses is that. I really don't think we should be in the business of selling alcohol at all, except for Summer Fun Fest where there's not a local business down there to sell it. But I would like to see some regular programming, and, if that's, I don't know what it would be, but I mean, we do have 2 people, working in City Hall who could brainstorm that. And I do think it's obviously I think it's important for bringing business downtown, but I mean, even if it's not necessarily a moneymaker, and even if we lose a few $1,000s on it, I still think you can't put a price on amenities and experience. I think that stuff really does make people a strong sense of community. Festivity really does make people want to live in a town as well. So I think some things are hard to quantify, is what I'll say.
With your comment about, I see what you're saying about that. We could actually go back to what we did for the summer. When we had the summer car show, we did not provide our own alcohol. We opened up the park and the street and maintained it open the entire time, so no traffic could come through. And then the bar traffic could bring that over. We could do that. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of Boots, Brews, and Barbecue, where it's just Boots and Barbecue, but there's brews, but it has to come from someplace else, and then there's only like one bar that's really centrally located to that. The other thing to think about is it's only $1,150 income that comes in from that, so that would raise that up more than $1,000 for Boots, Brews, and Barbecue. But I mean, that is something we could do, or we could transition it to a different event that we hold that'd be alcohol not for that thing. Everything's on the table.
I think we had there's, was it a whiskey tasting or a craft beer tasting? There was something there, I remember. I think that's fine. Obviously, that's more novel, right? But I just don't, I kind of agree. I don't know why we would be selling,
Right,
Carbless or
competing.
Busch
Yeah.
Light with, a bar. But there's at least 2 bars, in immediate proximity to there. So I don't know why we would compete.
So
with
what people might not be aware of, the way the liquor license works, this is where I would love a nonprofit to come in to do like a beer tasting or a special thing in Seneca Square, because they can do that. If you have one of the bars do it, here's the problem with that. A bar can absolutely do that. They can take their license and operate under, I believe they can, I think they can. There's some kind of rule, but my understanding is they have to shut down their establishment, I thought. That's not, I remember Becky and I talked about this in the
I
past.
don't remember that.
I
Yeah, I
don't
thought they had to
believe
shut down
so.
their establishment while they operated at another location.
I don't believe so, no.
There usually is a way where they can get a license to operate at a different location.
Yeah, you just have to ask for, and Rich could probably help me out with this too, I believe you just ask for an extension on your liquor license to cover
With the
wherever, and then you have to talk to your, insurance and things like that, but you can do both of them.
Well, if there's a way that we can do that, I would love a bar to wanna host more type of events like that down at like Seneca Square or something like that, so we're getting people down there for a reason. If we can find a way to do that, even better. But I would love more nonprofit. The whole idea is that the city doesn't have to be in the business of constantly making new events. The goal is to stimulate the economy, so people are wanting to come here. And like, for example, another event that, I mean, some of the bars, they get together for their events like zombie crawls, but then you also have like Cordelinos. He's putting on like music nearly every weekend through the summer months right there. So that's generating activity in our downtown that we're not having to do anything for to make sure that happens. So all I'm saying is 17,000 is what I'm seeing on this piece of paper of what we're spending for our events that we have. I think there's room in there to continue to bring more people in town. And I don't know if you want, my thoughts are, at least I'd like to take the recommendation from our ladies that are putting stuff together to create at least 3 smaller events. And you're talking about non-alcohol ones, because if you have the back to school or end of school year parties and stuff like that, those are 2 right there that obviously there's not alcohol. So those are something that we can do. I'd like to find something for the month of July, so we can constantly have something throughout the entire season. That's kind of my 2 cents. At a very minimum, I do want this to go on. I'm gonna recommend that we put this on for appropriations, so that way it alleviates Rich's concern that the council's actually approving something with these.
It's probably a little too exact to do for appropriations.
Well, no, I would say like that number would come up to be whatever, the Bark in the Park, 21 plus 10%, so you'd say like
Yeah.
2,400 or whatever it is, and then Summer Fun Fest, 5,000.
Yeah.
Whatever, and that's supposed to be our cap of what we're
Sure.
authorized to spend and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I just think that number's a little too exact. but-
No, I get it. This is just to show us here. So that's what I'd like to do, but I'd also like to expand that a little bit, just because I think we have some wiggle room in the money.
I'm supportive of that.
My question is, okay, so Summer Fun Fest, there's a lot of things that offset how much those expenses are. Like I'm looking at it with the carnival, the beverage sales. When you're budgeting for something like that, can you budget with the expectation of an offset, or do you have, if it goes out the door?
I think Fun Fest is gonna be very hard to dial in, because, I mean, we've gone to the past where it's been 10 to 15,000, and this year we're expecting that we're going to be 10 to 15,000 that we've made, right? And this year we're expecting that we are going, the way some of these numbers are, I have a hard, I mean, when you're looking at a $100,000 event, you're trying to boil it down to get exact within 4,000 or 5,000, I think that's a little difficult to do,
Like,
because rain affects us so hard.
Right. And like, just the sound alone is cost more than the money you're gonna make on it, $7,200 there. So when you write that check and it exceeds what's budgeted, is that gonna be a concern?
Well, again, the whole.
That's my,
Yeah.
for appropriations. I guess maybe that's a Pat question. But do you understand what I'm trying to say?
No.
Okay, so if we budget $4,000 for Summer Fun Fest, right there, just the sound alone is $7,200.
Yeah.
Oh,
get
I
it.
see, oh, I
Is that gonna cause big red flags because now we're spending more than what's budgeted? Granted, in the grand scheme of things for the entire event, we make it back with beverage sales, carnival
Yeah.
sales.
Why don't you just appropriate separately, individually for Fun Fest, as opposed to appropriating each line item?
Yeah, I mean, we write out we're expecting to write out $36,000 in checks to bands at the
Yeah.
end of it too. So we're hoping we're selling
Or
that much beer.
I think honestly, the discussion would be just to appropriate that much money, period, and not even, I mean, you could break it down by event, but I certainly wouldn't line item each event. I think that would be too excessive.
Well, you can break it down further. and
I
say
know,
what
I
you
just don't think it'd be
expect.
advisable.
Fun Fest is a tough one, because it's gonna be very hard to zero in, but my point is, we don't have anything written down via appropriation. Rich made a good point. Who's technically approving that, right? Because we really didn't. We all think Fun Fest is great, but nobody's sitting here saying, this is what at least this right here, this is what we're saying we're attempting. If we make 4,000
Yeah.
more or we lose 4,000 more, then.
But then you could have that discussion and who's approving that. Well, I mean, if you'd have to break it down then by every line item, because then who's approving $18,000 for fireworks, right? You would.
Well, the council would, because you're saying.
Yeah,
put it in there as a line
yeah,
item.
yeah. So you'd have to put everything in there as a line item, which I think is excessive. I think it's fine to appropriate for these events, and maybe you can appropriate by events. But I think to break everything down line item. I mean, we saw fireworks went up,
Yeah.
pretty substantially this year. I think we have to bake in that flexibility. But for context, I did pull up the Summer Fun Fest financials that Becky had sent out last year following the event. And last year for 2025, we made 14 grand. The previous year, we made 1,400. The previous year, 23, we made 17 grand. The year before that, 22 grand. The year before that, 30 grand. So
I'm well familiar with those. What's not including is the hotel. That's also having the inject money of the hotel motel tax.
Can you send those to me, Austin, please?
yeah,
Yeah, so
I'll
that's,
forward them to you right
so
now.
I remember seeing those when Tommy would do them too, and it's
Is it
great.
a true cost when you're,
Yeah,
when you're
because-
funding it
so
in
like
the
sometimes
beginning?
you say, oh, we made $12,000, and then you looked at, we pulled out 13,000 from our motor, well, not motor
Motel.
tax, hotel motel tax. So I'm like, so really it technically lost 1,000 that year
Yeah,
or
so
something like
I
that.
mean,
So-
25 we pulled out 17 grand. So then it would have lost
Yeah.
about 4 grand.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the numbers are tough to look at. It's a very it's a complicated. There's so many moving parts.
But again, what did it bring in? What did it bring in sales tax though too? I mean, that's something to consider as well. So
there is a secondary effect of all the people that go like on Saturday, Friday night and Saturday night when it closes. There are people in the downtown that go. There's more people coming through town. In fact, I think with the kids in the park, we've done it sometimes to where it's not even down there. We do it so it's in the middle of town so people can benefit from it. But that's Fun Fest. So two parts of the discussion here. One is getting something on the appropriations because we've never had it on there before. I don't think there's anybody that's against that. Is there somebody I'm hearing that's against that?
I'm fine with it if we appropriate by event instead of breaking stuff down line item.
That's what I think
Yeah.
you should do, Austin, and I think you should appropriate a number that has all of the receipts taken off.
So your suggestion is to put
Just what you're
$120,000
spending.
out,
That's what you're
and if
appropriating.
somebody, and not saying that they will, but if say 5 years from now, somebody comes in and says, I'm gonna spend $70,000 for a band, then what?
Because Rich
Well,
is saying
you have
it's under the
120,000 that's
appropriation
I guess it
amount, they're
goes-
authorized to do so.
I guess it goes back to, I don't think that it, just because it's in the appropriations, that you can circumvent council approval for big ticket items.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that we
Well,
have.
here's what I recommend to solve that. We put the big number in there for your appropriations, but then we have a worksheet that's at least council says, yep, that's a good plan, right? So you have a guideline that you're basing something off of.
If it's still
Yeah,
I
goes
mean,
well,
through
and keep in
council
mind, I know
approval.
that doesn't sound very scientific, but if you look at, first of all, Fun Fest has been very successful the last 25 years. There's been no guideline, so we're creating something at least that's a blueprint.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people are spending almost double what we have for entertainment, we're not bringing in a whole lot more. I would say that's just kind of administrative buffoonery at that point. And I mean, I don't really know what you do, what you really do at that point, other than reassign whoever's spending that money or whatever. Because I mean, that would be completely ridiculous.
Okay. Any other comments on the portion about talking about making sure it gets onto the appropriations?
Fine with that. Just break it down by event.
Okay,
Good
All
with me.
okay.
Good.
All right, next thing, what do we think about trying to add a few minor events based on the suggestions from some of the ladies? Thoughts on that? Budgeting X certain amount, 2,000, 5,000, 2 event, 1 event, 3 event? What are people thinking?
Well, I mean, if we are breaking stuff down by event, I mean, then you kind of have to have an idea as to what the event's gonna be. So, I mean, that would be a larger discussion. But like I said, I'm fine with appropriating more for it. I would really like to see some sort of regular programming in town. I just don't know what it is, and
Okay.
yeah.
Thoughts?
I agree with Austin, we need to know what the events are before we can appropriate
Okay.
it.
Mac?
Yeah, we need to know what it is, and it needs to be council approval.
Okay. Rich?
Absolutely.
Well, here's what I'll do then. I'll ask the ladies to see if, because I'm looking at Bark in the Park. You know, that's a relatively small one, 2142. We have different vendors and whatever, kind of stuff like that. My thoughts are, I'd like to do what they recommended for the end of school and start of school. We used to have something like that. I think SOS used to have an ice cream social, but they don't do that anymore. So having something like that, maybe I can make a recommendation that 2,000 for one, 2,000 for the other, and then creating some kind of July event, whatever that is, maybe 4,000 or 5,000. Let me get with them on that, see if they can come with a recommendation, and then we can, maybe we'll have something at the next meeting then. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds good to me.
That'll work.
You could always appropriate for all these specific events you know about, and then appropriate a sum of money, $5,000, for miscellaneous events throughout the year. And then decide on
That's
those
an
as
idea,
things
too.
come up.
Okay, all right,
That might
we'll look at
Just
that.
a suggestion.
Anybody have anything else?
Nope.
All right, I think we discussed it, good. Number 12, new business. Discussion on policy Manuel Cullinan.
Who is Manuel?
Yeah, so, speaking of community events, I had talked about kind of our new capabilities that we have, with Office 365, and it would be, I think, yeah, I know you hate it, but, we'll get you there. But
We're talking about this at length already.
well, okay, yes, but this is a separate issue. So we had talked about whatever the capabilities. One of the things is the calendar, and I had talked before about how I think it would be really nice to have one concise community calendar that shows everything that's going on in town within reason. Throughout the week, right? And so that would be city events like city council meetings, board meetings, things of that nature. I mean, BB Gun Club, whatever. Okay, city sponsored stuff. Nonprofit things, if we are Oglesby's doing something, or whoever else is doing something. School board meeting, even, great, throw that on there. But also, I don't necessarily think, and I don't know. This is, I guess, part of the discussion. But I didn't necessarily think it would be a bad idea too. I mean, even if somebody, if there's a local business that is, having a special, or if there's somebody that's having a yard sale or something like that, as long as it's appropriate, I didn't necessarily think there'd be something wrong with, people being able to submit requests to this community calendar and us approve them and throw them on there, just so people can go to one spot. It's a one-spot shop where everybody can see every single thing that's happening in Oglesby on a given date or a given week or a given month. But then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I know we have a social media policy, and I was like, well, I wonder so that's the first thing, so put that in your heads. But I was wondering, though, like, I know we have a social media policy, and if our social media policy would even allow for that, and, looking here, it says any groups or individuals desiring to access City of Oglesby social media site, which, I don't know if this community calendar would constitute that. I would think it's close enough to constitute it. To promote any event must be an Oglesby non-for-profit organization. Well, okay, so, that's an issue, okay? But then it led to a bigger issue, which is when I went to search for this policy, we have in our office, we have a lot of things stored locally on what we call our F drive. And so this is like storage that is only available if you're within like the city's organization. It's not cloud storage. It's just located here. So all the computers in the office have access to it. But I noticed that we have kind of a lot of loose policies that have been created at different times, and they're just kind of floating out there. There's no actual policy manual. And it kind of made me confused as to, what actual policies do we even actually have on file? I really don't even know, to be entirely honest with you. Because just for an example, where I teach, at my school, I mean, they have a whole school board manual, and I'm sure, our school board probably has something similar, where they break down the organization of the school district, the school board, general school administration, operational services, so forth and so on. And I mean, you can go to any of these sections, and all the policies are located in one concise, specific place. And so I had tried to piece together kind of something very rudimentary, and I think, Pat, if you saw it, you're probably horrified. But I had tried to piece something very rudimentary together to kind of, maybe put all of this stuff in one place, but like I said, I don't even know what's current policy, to be entirely honest with you, looking at that. I mean, you'd probably have to go back and dig through minutes upon minutes, and so,
And a lot of it may be in your ordinances,
yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah. And so with that being said, I guess what I wanted to approach the council about, I guess, would be maybe those issues. I mean, do you think there's any, well, the biggest issue here is the policy manual. I think that's something that, I mean, if we do have policies that are not written in our ordinance, I think they have to be someplace, because we can't expect people to adhere to or policies that they don't even know exist, or that they exist somewhere in some, file, digital file folder somewhere, in the abyss.
Probably not.
Yeah, like, so I think we need to have a concise policy manual similar to this. But I think we have to identify what all those policies are that we have. We need to organize them, categorize them, and then codify them into something coherent. And so that would include, if we wanted to, with the community calendar, because that's what started all this, probably having to revisit the social media policy and allowing for, businesses to, mention, maybe obviously setting limits on it as to what they could do, but, allowing for that.
And
So
I think the concern when that was discussed, Austin, was it would seem like you were condoning or favoring
So-
a certain business for a certain.
So this is the thing. So what I have is I have a Microsoft form where people can submit requests, and then they would come automatically to the clerk's office, and as long as it met the guidelines, nothing explicit, nothing, whatever. I mean, we could set morality and taste guidelines, of course, but if it met those guidelines, then it would just be approved and added to the calendar. Would be that. We wouldn't.
Completely up to you guys.
Yeah. So there's a few different things there, but I think the most pressing issue is the policy manual. If you would like to tell me what you think of the other things, that would be great. But I think we need to find some way to get this codified. I don't know what we used, but I mean, I definitely think it's kind of a mess from what I can see. I did not identify. I was not able to find any policy manual anywhere. So.
I find merit in what you're saying. I think maybe we need to take a step back, because there's a lot of people already upset about the Microsoft, and just give it some time to sit in, let them get work.
Of course.
Yeah, the shared spreadsheets and stuff, people with broken links.
Including my city hall employees.
Yeah, so let's
yeah.
pump the brakes on the calendar. I think it has
Okay.
great merit. I
Sure.
do.
Thank you.
Second of all, the policy manual. I like the idea of it all being in one spot. Is
Yeah.
this the policy stuff that was worked on for 2 years with the rest of the council and lots of discussion and lots of discussions? There's no revision to what you put together. You just put them in one spot.
Well, so the issue is, I mean, if you go, what I was able to find, so there's a social media policy, right, passed by ordinance. There's a sewer credit policy. Some of the stuff was passed by ordinance, and some of it I don't think was. Some of it was executive. There's a personnel policy, which don't know when that was done. There's an HR policy, which is, or no, I think that's the same thing. It's just titled differently. Net metering policy.
But this is stuff you didn't change anything on.
No,
These are just
no.
the current.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
That was my question.
Interconnection policy, HR condolences policy. They're all separate documents. They're all different folders in the F drive. They're not one concise location. I mean, you just have to do, I don't know. I think it's very difficult to actually know what policies we actually have
I
as a
agree
city,
with you.
because they're not compiled in an actual policy manual. So, I mean, even like we found, I think there's something about appropriate use for and technologies in the personnel policy, but we also, I dug up a cell phone policy that's sitting in there that's from like, I don't know, and it talks about the clerk's office will be responsible for reviewing all cell phone bills of the employees for proper reimbursement of personal calls beyond policy limits. Reimbursement will be at the rate of 25 cents per minute for each, like, that's, how old. And so, it's like, yeah, I don't know what we actually have on file, and so administratively, it's really difficult. I mean, we talked about wanting to get all the policies in one place.
Yes.
Well, they're they're kind of a convoluted mess, I think. And so I think they actually need to be compiled into one definitive document that maybe we review on a regular basis, to be entirely honest with you. I think that's probably a practice of school boards. I think our school board reviews the policy manual relatively regularly.
Every 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
So I think my suggestion is continue compiling them, not trying to direct you on what to do, but I think that's great. Let's pump the brakes on too many changes.
Okay, sure.
just yet. That's my
Fair.
thoughts.
Compile them together, make a manual and get them straightened out, bring them to us and let us see them. And we'll make a
Rich?
motion.
Yeah, I agree, totally. Go ahead, get it.
Couple things. So, big difference between codifying something and codifying and then gather and organize. I do agree. So, a lot of our, first of all, policy is kind of a loose term. Some things like net metering policy, it has the term policy in it, but in reality, it's an ordinance. It's an ordinance. They just use that term because of net metering and stuff like that. That was a state thing. So it's not truly a policy. Some of those things were simply, they just have that title. Now, what you're talking about, there's a few that were from like, I don't remember seeing a single policy signed before Finley. But Finley had some, during the last administration. We put some like COVID we had some stuff like that. We wrote some stuff like that. This one, we obviously created our behavior, we actually created a lot of policies. Our behavior policy, our HR policy, our personnel policy, because they were all kind of separated, right? You had like how people could treat a cell phone, all that kind of stuff. The only one that I have signed as a policy that didn't really come in front of the public was the condolences policy. And that was based on me finding out that certain city employees did not have the same thing handled to them when they had a level 1 pass or something like that. So I put something together that made it, we have a standardized thing about how we recognize when these things happen and stuff like that. But I do agree with the idea of organizing them perhaps in a binder. So that way, I don't know about codifying them just yet, but at least getting them organized so we know what exists.
The other big thing is, I guess I need to know what policies we have too, because that's all I was able to dig up on the F drive. And I mean, if you have, if there's policies that you're aware of that I'm not aware of, like, I need obviously those to compile, because I'm not sure what we all have, honestly. It's all kind of just
There probably is some policies that nobody, like for example, when COVID was going on, we had some crazy stuff going on. We had to come up with a COVID policy about how we're handling if somebody were to say, I test, somebody in my house tested, we had to come up with a policy for that. I don't think that thing's been looked at in probably 4 years at least. So I would recommend gathering them all together, saying this is what we got, what else do we know? The clerk's office will probably know a lot of them. Some of them are only in paper. Like I know Finley's ones that were only ever in paper. So a couple things, so you talk about newsletter. We actually have a monthly newsletter. Now you could talk about trying to expand upon our monthly newsletter to maybe, because right now we just have stuff like that summarizes council meetings, holidays, special super events that we do. We could expand that a little bit more.
Are you watching the game?
Whose is that?
Oh.
All right. I know it's running long. I apologize. So we definitely have that. So the monthly newsletter, right? I would think if you want to put some stuff on that, we could find ways to expand upon that, maybe have a little more detail in there. Event page, I'm a little nervous about that because you know about the issues that we've had where somebody even comes and they have a request for our billboard outside, right? I have concerns if somebody wants to put something up of a personal nature or for their business, right? In typical, and I think we have a policy that says, I think we have a policy. This is
why we need the policies compiled.
Well, I think our social media policy has it to where it says that we will not advertise for a business unless it's their grand opening. I think it says that, right? Other than that, we don't advertise for business. But we kind of circumvent that because if it's a business that has a nonprofit thing going on, then it's a different story.
See, I guess I wouldn't consider this necessarily to be advertising. I consider it more to be like a community board of a sort, because we're not putting anything on there. We're not doing any of the legwork. People are putting something on there. And so I think it would be inappropriate, frankly, for the city Facebook page or for any city affiliated accounts to be sharing posts for a particular business and saying, hey, go here, they have they have this special on this given day. I think that's inappropriate, but I think if you had something which was basically totally based off of community submissions, and there were taste and moral guidelines attached to it, and maybe other guidelines as well, I don't see an issue with that, because we're not actively advertising anything. If anything, we're just we're providing a space for that, I guess.
Well, I absolutely agree with one of the things you said there with, we should probably be reviewing them, right?
Mhm.
Because what made sense for social media 10 years ago does not hold water today, right? So maybe every couple of years, you need to be updating that and looking at that. I will say that we're gonna make Pat's job a living hell, because the whole reason the social media policy came around, and this was before Pat's time, there was some issues where we had people that could make comments on Facebook, and we had to, our clerk's office had to monitor every single
Well,
thread,
sure.
because people put live stuff that would.
Well, nobody can, I'll just say this specific thing, nobody can add anything to it without literally the approval of
I
whoever
know, but then
it
what you're
is.
doing is now you're making something else that the clerk's office has to add into that.
Well,
And
well,
that's-
sure,
And that's under your purview, so.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with us looking at that if we want to update
Yeah.
something like that, but I just think that
Well,
you're
let's
creating
focus,
another.
let's do this. Let's focus on like finalizing some sort of a comprehensive policy manual first, and when we review that policy manual, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I think that's the
I
appropriate way to
think,
go
I think the
about
way
it.
to go about that is organizing a big binder together that has, we got 25 policies in there, right? And then we can look at, okay, is this all the policies we have? All right, now let's make sure it's
Yes.
digitized.
So only having been here a year, if you're aware of any policies that are not located in this policy folder under administrative documents policies, please alert me, or please upload them yourselves so I can put something together, because like I said, I think they need to be in one place.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, anything else? Did anybody else, everybody have an opportunity to talk about discussion? On policy Manuel?
I'm good.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. Number 13, public comment on any topic.
You have 12B.
Did you jump over Hillary's?
You did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might have.
I'm sorry, did I?
So-
What'd I
You have
do?
an old agenda.
Oh,
It's-
Go
It's
ahead.
not even,
What'd I do?
I don't know if
Possible
I,
action on Malta's trap.
Yeah.
there's no action
I don't-
taken, she's the commissioner.
I don't got that.
it's possible you
It was
don't.
probably one of the older
I don't know
versions.
if I need to get council approval on this. We've
You
talked
don't.
a little bit about the travel policy 15 times,
What-
but.
What is it?
So Maltus and Jess Core, Chief Maltus, they are requesting to go to a fire department instructors conference in Indianapolis between 4/23 and 4/24. It would be one night of overnight travel. It's something that a lot of the local area fire departments are already doing. It's for Maltus a total of $965.56, and for Jess, he's at the bottom. But they're carpooling, so it's only $150 for Jess. So, I don't know if I need council approval.
Safe travels, thank you.
Safe travel.
All right, we'll round.
Go ahead.
So, one I didn't know, it's not on my list, so sorry, I apologize. My 2 cents on it is, if it's within the limits of what's on the thing, you don't have to put it on there for your employees, right? You can do whatever, I mean, I think it's great. There are some other ones that I think we do need to put on there, like, for example, I think the IMEA conference is coming up shortly. I don't know if we've talked about that, if council members wanna go to that. They usually like to see multiple council members. And the one for September, it's probably too early for that though, but it is out. We can get that on there as well. But usually if it's for your own personnel, as long as it's underneath that, now, I say that because like DC or other places you go to, you might not be able to get that room rate at whatever. So
Right.
technically that would be advanced, you get that approved then. But if it's under the numbers, you don't need anything.
And that was me putting it on there just to
Oh.
make sure we had already talked about it even.
How'd they not get online?
I don't know. I'm working off of 2 different agendas because
Oh.
of the,
It's the new
365.
Microsoft 365.
Oh, somebody upgraded the
Drag
Microsoft.
on.
There we go again.
I'll take it.
Okay,
it's exactly what
all right.
it is.
Sorry, we'll go.
Sorry.
All right, moving on. 13, public comment on any topic. Didn't we have?
Yep.
Oh,
Come on up. One night.
Hi, my name is Brian Kamenish. For Jennifer, that's Camenisch.
Sorry about that.
No, it's difficult.
I've used your K one time, I said I was sorry.
It's all right. It's been slaughtered through the years. No worries, usually at the end with the S or the C. On I'm here because I thought we were on the agenda. I don't know if we are or not. Anyways, regardless, my wife and I built the house in 2018. The contractor owned the lot next to us, owned the lot that we built our house on. We followed every ordinance. Our markers were marked. We put our sidewalk in, we put our trees in, we followed everything we could. In 2019, our neighbor built a house off the same markers, no issues, no complaints, no nothing. Our neighbor didn't put a sidewalk in, which the city had some discussion with. He also put up a fence, which is in violation of city ordinance clearly. I think it's 25 foot from the city line, plus it's supposed to be 4 foot on a corner. Hey, we weren't worried about it. The city had discussions with them. We put up a fence shortly thereafter, 18 inches off the line, which was the marked line that we built our house on, and also that he built his house and put his fence up on. We also put a shed that was 18 inches off the line. The reason we put it 18 inches off the line because we received permission from the city. We approached the city multiple times on emails to obtain a variance to be able to put our shed 18 inches off the line. We have those emails. Eventually we were told by the city engineer that we didn't need to put it 5 foot off, that we could put it 18 inches off, even after we tried several times to see what we needed to do a variance to ask to put it 18 inches off. Regardless, our shed, our fence, were 18 inches off the property line. We always intended to finish our fence. We have a dog, we have kids, we have a pool. We intended to, but obviously fences aren't cheap. We had to take our time at it. In the meantime, the city had some issues with our neighbor to the south about the fence, which is clearly put up in violation of city ordinance. And our former building inspector apparently approved why, I have no idea. That's not my deal. But in the meantime, their family got in a spat with the city, and apparently the city had it surveyed, at least the markers on the city side. They also had it surveyed, and with no fault of mine, the marker in the front of our house was, I think, approximately 10 or 12 inches off, even though it was in the ground. There was no back marker that we ever found, neither did the person that surveyed it originally for our contractor. Either way, our fence in the front is several inches off in the front. As it runs at an angle, our shed is right on the property line. So our fence and our shed are still on our property. They're not on the city's property, they're not on my neighbor's property. So in the spring of 2025, my neighbor Dave Foster, who's here, approached me, he's my neighbor to the west, approached me about building a fence. And he asked me, hey, do you mind if we put it on the line? And there's, ways to do that in the city of Oglesby, and I said, absolutely, no problem. I don't care, let's put it on. I mean, why do we have the 18 inches of wasted space? Well, Dave got the cost, and he had some other things going on, so he didn't have the funds to do the fence, and said he wasn't gonna put it up in 2025. Well, in the meantime, we decided in the spring, or the fall of 2025, into the winter of 2026, that we wanted to complete our fence. Dave and Dina to the west of us wanted to put it on the line, no problem. So we did the paperwork. Daryl and Gina Baker to the north, talked to them, put it on the line, we don't care, it's fine, no problems. So everything on the line. Due to the issues that we've had in the past with neighbors to the south of us and their entire family, I'm not really sure which one actually owns it, but we paid to have a survey done because we were told that our shed was 8 inches on their property, which is incorrect. So we paid to have a survey done. We paid the fee to apply for a variance. We did everything the right way. We didn't try to trick anyone. We didn't just slap it up there. We tried to do everything the right way. So recently went to a variance hearing, and the variance board declined us under the fact that there was no hardship on us. So 2 things. One, they want me to put it 18 inches off my shed to the back. And then on the back, it's gonna be on the line. if my neighbor completes the fence, I have zero access to that 18 inches. It's a vinyl fence, there's no maintenance to it. My shed's not moving, neither is the other part of the fence. That's there, it's not going anywhere. So there's no, the only hardship is on me aesthetically that it's not gonna look right. And then now I'm not gonna have access to that 18 inches as well. I think merely the only way it's contested is just to be a pain in the butt. I mean, everybody in the neighborhood is fine with it. I just don't understand, they're saying there's no hardship. The only hardship is on my wife and I. And then if we wanna look back through variances that have been granted in the city of Oglesby, I'm sure we could dig into some that weren't just granted because of hardship, they were granted because of convenience. So all I'm asking is for the city council to take a hard look at this and see what they wanna do with it. I implore you to overturn the variance, board's, decision. I don't believe it's correct, and I'm just asking for the council to take a look at it and do what's fair is fair. Any questions?
Do you guys have knowledge of what
Should've been in
he's
the draft.
requesting? So, this is his shed, this is his existing fence, essentially on the property line, right, Brian?
The front of it, yeah, is, well, it's not with, so the front of it's several inches off, and as it goes back to the corner of the shed is right on the property line, correct?
Okay. So this is essentially on the property line, and he wants to extend it back here.
If I
He
ask,
has reached agreement with these two neighbors to allow him to put it on the property line, and you have an ordinance that says it has to be reduced to writing, notarized, and recorded. And when we were here for the meeting, that wasn't quite done yet, but I'm sure your neighbors will cooperate in doing that.
so we submitted the completed paperwork not being notarized because we hadn't submitted the paperwork to the county clerk. We are just submitting it with our application for a variance to show that our neighbors on the other two sides were okay with it being on, the line. In fact, my neighbor to the west, it was his idea originally to put it on the line, not mine, although I have no problem with it. We're talking about 25 feet, which is less from this wall to that wall, at 18
From
inches.
here to here is what we're talking.
It's 25 feet and approximately 25 feet, 6 inches, at 18 inches wide. So we're not talking about a huge space. And we're not setting precedents either, because I'm not asking that my back neighbor, I have 80 feet across the back, and I'm asking, he doesn't want me to have it there. You know what I'm saying? This is just a small section. It's not me saying, oh, my neighbor says no, so I'm not gonna put it, or I wanna ask for a variance. This is a small section that lines up with everything else
That you have an approved permit on, correct?
that I had an approved permit for, correct. And documentation that when we asked originally for a variance on our shed, that we were told in multiple emails, we basically begged the city to let us have a variance, and we were told we didn't need it.
Any thoughts?
So, in short, I think it's pretty simple.
So,
Well, unfortunately, Brian, it's not on the agenda, and I take some responsibility for that, because Jen sent me the agenda, and I didn't notice that it wasn't on there. But this was all taken up by the zoning board last week, and one person abstained that used to be a neighbor of Brian's.
Yes, he was a neighbor, and he also did the
But
roughing for my
the other
electrical,
four
which so
people
probably
there
he did abstain, I mean, I understand that.
voted unanimously against it. I think largely because the Cienzas were here and voiced a lot of concerns about it.
What were their concerns?
Well, I'll let them tell you, because to start that discussion would be difficult, and Brian would have to counteract some of it, I think.
Well, there's
You know,
just,
they complained that the shed, the overhang of the shed is really on their property. They complained that the gravel from the shed, because it's raised up higher than their property, keeps sliding down onto their property. Things like that.
Pat, I actually think they insinuated that my shed, which is 10 by 16 by 8, with a four-wheeler and a golf cart and a lot of other equipment inside of it, was moving.
Was moving?
The whole
Yeah,
shed
no,
was
they
moving, yes.
they did suggest
Yeah,
that the shed
which
was
is not
sliding
happening.
to their property, and they were concerned about that.
And then they were concerned about some electrical line that apparently, they wouldn't be able, if the power went off, there would be no access to it, which, if you can go through, the entire city of Oglesby in our neighborhood, there's power lines
Under
inside of
fences.
fences everywhere.
All over the place.
The thing
That
that,
would create a 4-foot corridor between your fence and
Correct,
theirs?
so that was another concern, that they apparently wouldn't have, room to take care of their property, which, as all of us know, in between fences, is pretty much like a no man's land. He has almost 4 foot by his own admittance to take care of the property. I don't understand. Originally, when I put my fence up in my shed, I put 18 inches of CA6 in with a border to prevent the gravel from going into anybody else's yard. When they found out that they owned more land, he took out pieces of the border, which eventually made me take the border out, and then he started putting soil on top of it. And when it rains, if you know what CA6 is, it packs like concrete, the water pushes the dirt off of it. So therefore, that's where they're getting that it's washing away. Well, you can't just throw dirt on top of CA6 and think it's gonna stay there. And I was just trying to make it easy, because there's no way that you're gonna take a lawnmower that's 18, I don't have a lawnmower that's 18 inches wide. To make it easy, why not just put a nice gravel enclosed and be done with it and not have to worry about it? That was my whole intention all along, was when I finished the fences, to go all the way down with 18 inches.
So we don't have this on the agenda tonight for an
Correct.
action item.
Which I thought it was originally, and that's why
It was supposed to
here.
be.
I had some neighbors that were like, is it on the agenda? There was some, the
So
date was
My suggestion,
incorrect, there were some issues. No, it
we'll,
happens.
we'll get it on there. So a couple things. Since I don't have a number 15 anymore, because I really don't want to create a front and back and forth here, but I will comment on the parts I know. And so I haven't had a chance to, okay, so Brian and I talked about a week ago about this stuff. We talked for a good hour. We chatted about some stuff, and I gave him the same line. I tell everybody here that when our boards make a recommendation, I take that very seriously. I don't like to go against a board recommendation. I think so far we've ever done it twice out of like 50 plus, probably 100 plus recommendations over the last 7 years. I think there's only been twice that we've gone against that. So to me, they should be really extraordinary circumstances. We talked a little bit about that. After we got off the phone, I had talked to Dan Fitzgerald, which is our zoning chairperson. And boy, oh boy, I love Dan, because he knows how to look at something analytically. I asked him his thoughts, and his thoughts were, because he likes to look at the black and white of and I respect that, I really do. And by the way, I just want to say how much I really appreciate you trying to go about this the best way you have by trying to get it approved, because we have a major history in this city of people just doing things and then asking for forgiveness later. So I mean that sincerely.
Which we could have done.
I mean that sincerely.
And it would have saved us a lot of money.
As I
And
said,
probably hard.
this is why I don't want to go back and forth, but I mean that sincerely. And so because of that, I want to pay special attention to this. So, talking to Dan, he believes that it's independent of anything else that's going on. You should look at the situation that's there. And so he's right. If you look at that, it should be denied, right? And then one of the things that I talked to him about, because you and I talked about this, the stuff with the Cienza stuff in the past did not come up how they are not decoded, as you can see, right? I can get into that too a little bit. If Dom was here, he'd be up screaming at the podium as well. Dan's thought was that doesn't matter. I think it does have some bearing, because what happened was when they built their stuff, there's an argument whether they agreed to what was on the building permit, but obviously it is not. The way the building permit was worded, there you can see, even though if Jim Kleiner was here, he'd tell you that these yellow lines are cartoon lines, and you can't trust them, but
They're
give
approximate.
they give a good indication of what's going on. Their fence is obviously too close to the roadway, it's inside the right-of-way. So it was supposed to be back so far from the right-of-way, which they did not do. Because of that, their length of their fence is correct on their building permit, but it started at the wrong thing. I'm a believer that that's what caused some of the problems that you're having, because when you put your stuff in, you were basing it based on that approved building permit. Now, when I mentioned this to Dan Fitzgerald, he's a black and white guy. He says, absolutely. However, that's independent. The homeowner is still responsible for what they build to make sure it's to code, whether they have the right pins or whatever. So he's correct. I agree with that. And you and I have gone back and forth about talking about how can they be not to code and I have to be to code.
Can I interject too? I know you don't want me to, but I'm going to. Their fence is on the city's property. My fence is on my property.
Sir,
Just so we can clarify that. That's not all on their property.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So, So, with that being said, I talked to Dan because I don't wanna go against, and he makes a solid recommendation. I don't wanna go, and he said, I recognize the position you're in because the board is in a political position about you're trying to make the best compromise for all citizens involved there. So, and what's not fair is I haven't even talked to the council about this yet. The reason I didn't is because I've just been inundated with 1,000 other things, and it wasn't on the agenda. So when it wasn't on the agenda Friday, I'm like, you know what, I'll deal with it another time. I think Hillary and I talked about it briefly on the phone today. She was kind of on board with it. I made a mention to Austin, but I don't even think we've gone into the details. I don't think it's appropriate for me to go into those details right now. I have 2 council members that have not even heard it yet. But I have a recommendation to where, how something could be approved. But I do think I'd like to respect the board and deny the request. But there's a roundabout way to get to where, and we've talked about it down in the office right before. I know we only had 5 minutes to talk about it. But I would like to look at this a little bit detailed, because I'm telling you, I respect that you are trying to do it the right way, and I wish more residents would go that route.
And I respect that you wanna take it to the board, so I think the board should look at it, it should be on the agenda, and then they should make a vote on it. And you guys can talk about it. I respect that, we'd like to get the ball rolling a little bit sooner than later. But if we gotta wait, we gotta wait. I mean, we are trying to, I know we were kinda pushing the city along to get to a variance hearing, because we were hoping to get this up and done by summertime. Clearly, we have a swimming pool, and, you know, we would really like to have our yard fence fix it.
Sir, I get it, we've talked at
I
length
just wanna
about
bring
this.
that up, that this
I
has
mean-
been in the works since 2019, this is 2026.
And you and I have talked about this a while.
I know, I'm not trying to get,
I know.
I just wanna point that out.
Everything, you know, there was a plan in place, because we did the safe route, because you're talking.
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, I know, you're talking about the sidewalk, and I recognize that. So what we did as a city, we went back and we did the Safe Route to School program. This started halfway through the last council, right? To where we focused on the areas that did, so, okay. There's about 30 properties inside the city that were supposed to have sidewalks and things like that, according to when they were built. It was never enforced. Well, there's two sections of the city, one was in the 80s, another was in the 90s that started, and people simply did not do that. Matter of fact, the only person that's come in after the fact was Jim Kleinert. So, great props to him. So the question is, how do we fix this? So the Safe Route to School program, that's why it looks so disconjointed. It's because it's to take care of the areas that there never was a way to enforce those homes to build. So those are the houses that didn't have a means to be required ahead of time. That's what that was supposed to be. And then the goal was, the council's gonna look at, how are we gonna tackle the ones that we're supposed to? Are we gonna go after and attack every single resident? Do we really wanna do that? You know, that's not a very popular decision. Or do we bite the bullet and say, the city's going to pay out of taxpayer dollars for these 30 homes to cover that? That conversation has not come up yet, because we never got the Safe Route to School thing finalized yet. So there is a plan in place. I am sorry that it's not at the speed that everybody enjoys, but speed of government is ridiculously slow.
I'm aware of that.
All right, is
And
that a quick summary of
Had the
everything?
city of Oglesby enforced their ordinance in 2019, there would be a sidewalk there. This isn't 1980, it wasn't 1993, it was 2019.
So I will tell you-
And they refused to enforce the ordinance, and they gave an occupancy.
There is probably
Why, I
video.
have no idea, I know you were on the council at the time.
There's probably video of, I don't know if we had our video thing up when Mayor Rivera was here. It's one of the times that he lost his mind. I should say that. That's a terrible way to say that. He got very, very angry, rightfully so, because what's important about that piece of property is all those other ones that I mentioned, those 30 other ones, the council didn't do anything about that at the time. This one in particular, we did. And it didn't get resolved. That's what resulted in Tommy Augubright coming up with that plan now to where we get a, what's the word? I can't remember the word, escrow.
There was an escrow in 2019, I had to pay it in 2018.
I get it, I
So
get it.
again, that was already
So
in
he
effect.
started that process, then when
No,
Tony
he didn't
stepped,
start, it was already in effect.
no,
I had to pay an escrow, and when I was done with making sure that my sidewalk was in, and I passed all my building permits, then the escrow amount was paid back to me.
Well-
That was the same, it didn't change from 2018 and 2019.
Twen-
Instead, we just rolled off on it and said, here you go, who cares about the
I
sidewalk?
promise you, Tommy Augubright is the one that started an escrow at least for
He was
the.
already in office by that point though, too, so I mean.
Oh, yeah, maybe, oh, I think he did it when we were, but it was specifically for sidewalks. right? That's what it was supposed to be for. And then when Stefanelli got in, he recognized that the wording still wasn't strong enough for all situations to be handled. So then he updated it. So what that did is it fixed the problem going forward. Don't get me wrong, we still got those 30 properties plus this one here. I get that.
I
But
don't
at
wanna
least
go
we're
back
trying to
and
fix
forth,
it from
but
going.
was pretty clear cut on what the ordinance was, but regardless,
I know.
just as so we don't keep anybody here longer than we already have, we've been here for over 2 hours, and, you know, I think frankly, everybody wants to get home. My only thing is on the sidewalk is, originally when we moved in, I have 2 small children, which I don't like to announce in public for certain reasons, but we have 20-some kids that live on that street. Originally, the bus stop was at Mary Sarver's. Since then, it has moved to the corner of Caitlin and Sunset. As anybody that's been through Caitlin and Sunset, with no offense to our police department, they can't be everywhere at once. It's a highly disregarded stop sign, and people fly down there like it's the backs of Talladega. Sorry, like my gum caught up on me there. But anyways, it's not a very safe intersection. And my kids, when it snows and it's bad weather, they have to walk out in the street and they have to stand in the middle of Sunset to wait for the bus. So as I talked to you earlier, which I don't think I need to do, but I offered to pay for the sidewalk myself. I pay over $7,000 in taxes, and I said I will pay for the sidewalk to be put in because I want my kids to be safe. And all the kids in the neighborhood. There, like I said, there's 20-some kids, 20 plus, that live on Caitlin Court. So if the city doesn't want to do it and doesn't apparently have the funds for it, I'm just saying that I would be willing to pay for it. I just want that on record.
I appreciate that.
That's my concern about the sidewalk.
And I will tell you, the city hasn't forgotten about it. It's just that the process that we came up with has not had the opportunity to unfold in the way it was going to. So can the council readdress that? I mean, I think we have 2 new people on the council since we came up with that process, so we could talk about it again and address it. I do appreciate it. Again, I thank you for wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
To be fair to the other 2, well, really 3, because I don't think, Austin, we didn't even talk about the details of it, I have a recommendation that might be a potential compromise.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
Okay. So we'll
Let's
see.
get it on the agenda for next meeting.
That sounds like a plan.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Let's put it on.
You bet. And I'll contact you
Thank you.
all 3 about a potential plan and see if you guys think of it's useful. Well, or Hillary, we've talked about it briefly. You could talk with Hillary as well, so. All right, are there any other public comments on any topic? Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 14, Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cullinan.
Gonna keep it short tonight. Nothing tonight.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, really?
Commissioner Moyle.
okay.
Well,
So,
that's quick.
for the month of March, I have some statistics. The police department had 78 traffic stops, 3 vehicle accidents, 616 extra patrol/business checks, 25 incident reports, 32 EMS assists. The ambulance had 6 transfers, 2 ALS intercepts, 40 911 calls, and 8 out of the 40 911 calls were in district. For fire, they had 30 calls total, 11 were mutual aid, 4 accidents, 3 activated alarms, 2 lift assists, 2 brush fires, 2 storm standby, 1 chemical leak, 1 wire down, 1 PR event, 1 rescue, 1 structure fire, and 1 gas leak. 14 were in city limits, 5 were in the district, 11 were out of district. Last month, I mentioned that on April 9th, they were going to do a water rescue drill. It's been postponed to May 7th. Part of the reason for the change is Mavis wanted to make sure it was a larger exercise. On this day, they'd like to shut down the canoe landing for the day to accommodate all the equipment they have coming in for this training. The scenario they are planning is a large-scale deployment for a flooding event in the Illinois Valley. With that said, most of this exercise will take place on the Vermilion River, with some objectives being on the Illinois River. I feel like it would be best for safety reasons to limit the access to that area during the exercise. The current plan is we are going to start the drill with Oglesby personnel as the authority having jurisdiction. Then we will request resources from Mavis Division 25, which is LaSalle County. We will then request resources from Mavis Divisions 14 and 15. After that, we will also get resources from Illinois Swiftwater 1, which is the Cook County Water Rescue, and Illinois Task Force 1, which is the state deployable team. So, if you're wondering what's going on May 7th, that's what's happening.
All in a single day?
Yes, even better though. May 7th, we also have the fire safety tutorial at the Dickinson House with instructors Chief Maltus and Jess Core. And it'll be from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner McDermott.
Okay, I got, wastewater treatment plant is on schedule and still doing good. April 27th to March 1st is branch shipping. Put your branches out on the curbs and they'll come by and pick it up. Now, the dry bridge is due to be completed sometime this month. However, I have not gotten a specific date yet. Hopefully I'll get it before they just start on it, but basically they're wanting to close the bridge off entirely for 1 or 2 days, and we can't do that. I'm not gonna do that
Yeah.
because of the safety of the community and everything else. We won't do that.
Thank you for that. No, seriously.
I'm
Yeah.
standing firm on that.
That
I'm
was
sorry.
never part of the plan.
No,
Yeah.
When you get dates, can you make sure to let fire and ambulance know too?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
I'll let everybody know.
Well,
Trust me.
I know the fire and ambulance, they have access to
They do, but
to
just
go
so they
around.
know.
I don't know, did the police have that same access? I hope they do.
You guys,
Well-
would it benefit you guys to use Hall Road?
You guys have that access to those codes to get through for the other access point?
I'm sure
Okay.
they all do, but
Okay.
sometimes it's
Well, I know our
even quicker
utility
to
workers
go over
do
the
and
dry
fire and
bridge.
ambulance does, but I wasn't sure if police did, so, okay. All right, thank you. Commissioner Baldridge?
Nothing.
Okay. Number 16, executive session for collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees for the representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 LCS 122C. 2, to discuss the purchase or lease of real estate, 5 LCS 120C5, the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, 5 LCS 120/2C1, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed, 5 LCS 120/C21. Can I get a motion to go into executive
Can I
session?
make a comment? I don't have anything to talk about in closed session. I don't know if anybody else does. If somebody else does, I will willingly go, but if we have nothing to talk about.
Could you have made that mention before I ran off?
I didn't wanna interrupt.
I don't have anything either.
I don't know, unless we need to discuss minutes, but we can always probably push off discussion of minutes.
You can,
I'm-
just once every 6 months you need.
Yeah,
make
yeah,
a
yeah.
motion that we
Did we have
table.
anything hold on, do we have anything for the lease of the real estate or anything like that on that one?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, well, in that case.
I'll make a motion to table.
15, motion adjourned. I got a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second his.
Really just
Second
want to
mine.
call that motion anyways. All right, roll call, please.
So this is to adjourn, right?
This is to adjourn,
Okay.
yes, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle.
I
Curran.
Aye, we are adjourned.
saved you guys from being trapped in the room.
Good job.
Well, I didn't know if you had an update on that or something like what they said, maybe. Okay.
Good practice, because like I said, I just wrote it on every agenda, just, so we can be safe.
Jen, did I leave you?
Must have. Yeah, it's been
You
sitting
know,
there.
if you guys want to do different changes to the agenda, you can let me know before the meeting starts. You know you can let me know before the meeting starts, right? So we can,
I would take that off, Jen,
Take the whole
as a
thing.
recurring item.
Okay.
I just have it in abeyance in case somebody wants to put something,
All right. I can for sure do that.
so it won't be confusing to people.
Can do. And that was I completely forgot about.
well, we
did too.
just left it on there
I
for.
think after going through that,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just glad to have it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Just whoop, there it went.
I should have remembered though.
I should have too. That was my
You had a second request before the zoning